Okay. Madam President, when you're ready, we're live. So, good evening, everyone. We are going to go into our budget hearing process. Um, we have on tonight's agenda, we will be discussing our fire department, economic development, and then we will go into our DPW items. So if we want to get started, Madam Clerk, can we start with our fire department, Madam VA? I know I requested it in times past, an overview of the departments as it relates to, since we don't have the listing of it, say its bargaining agreement is 1%, 2%, include that in the overview, and then talk about whatever the variances or the changes that will be included, and then we can hear from the department head on whatever, what their forecasts or projections are for the upcoming budget cycle.
Sure, great. Thank you, Council President. Well, as it relates to fire, I think the biggest changes you'll see when it comes to your uniformed personnel, it's a lot more straightforward. But when it comes to your civilians, you will see that we're adding some civilian positions, and I'll let the chief get into this a little bit. But I think it's been a wonderful kind of working collaboration on this, where the chief has brought forward some ideas on ways that he can help civilianize parts of the fire department in general, especially as he's taken over some of the work for communications, but even now moving to another area and a couple other areas of inspections. And by doing so, being able to eliminate some of the necessary or the upper level positions through retirements for something like, deputy chiefs. So he's our chief. We're really lucky to have him in the leadership of this very large department, in part due to his ability to look for ways to become, to save taxpayer money, to create pathways for employees to have, not all, it doesn't always have to be sworn personnel, but to have pathways to real careers and leadership opportunities for civilians, all the while by really kind of keeping an eye on the taxpayers' dollars. So he'll be presenting both the fire one as well as the OEM budget as well.
Thank you, Madam VA. Chief, if you want to start with your budget.
Sure. So if you look at the 5105, you'll see immediately, you'll notice in from fiscal year 2021 to calendar year 21, you'll notice a $563,640 reduction overall coming into this budget right now. That was done with, as the Madam VA said, with some, basically I did some changes that are civilianization and more to take care of all the employees, not just one section of the employees. So first, if you look at in the salary and wages for 5105.10,
Oh, Brian.
I think we froze.
Yeah.
versus a firefighter that
Hey, Chief, can you hold on one quick second? You froze a little bit. So if the last thing we heard was if we can look at the 5105.10. If you can go back to that.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Thanks.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay, so if you go into the 5105.10, right, page 1, you'll look at the positions that are in there and focus on the last line where it says fire prevention specialist, LEA, life hazard use. What we have with the fire inspectors is basically I'm going to reduce them by 1 down to 10. I'm going to give them added responsibilities of performing fire investigations because it's within their purview, but it will be an added responsibility. With that, each one will see a significant raise. As far as their duties, since where I make the savings is I go down into the 5105.60 line, and you'll see the firefighters then go from 273 down to 269. Because right now I have a hefty amount of fire investigators on the fire side, and they are, they're making about $117,000 each. With that, with the removal of that, it's 117,000 times 4, which is in the high $400,000 range. And the change with the fire inspectors, with the raises that they would see, is roughly in the $200,000 range. Right there, I realized over a $200,000 savings just in that shift to civilianization. With that, I'm going to be able to get people that have been, in my mind, just kind of like second-rate citizens. Now they're given added responsibilities. They have more of a living wage. They have something that they can look forward to here. And traditionally, the fire inspectors, we lose them. They go to Parsippany, Verona, Vernon Township, the state of New Jersey, because the pay here is less than half of what a fire inspector pays throughout the other cities in the state. With these additional duties, once again, we inject a code enforcement aspect into our fire investigations, facilitating a better, more rounded fire investigation. So they'll work in a symbiotic relationship with the current fire investigators that will be moving towards law enforcement powers in the form of just 5 fire investigators going to law enforcement for sworn officers. That's going to be about a year-long process at least. So we'll realize the savings right here, right away. Less employees working harder and being happier, without a doubt. The other place where we focused was in dispatch, and I kind of have to jump across from my 5105.60. You'll see that the deputy fire chief goes from 10 down to 9. That's roughly, deputy chief is roughly $203,000 to $210,000. We removed that, and if you go into the 9060 line, you'll see that there's new positions that are put in there. You'll see superintendent and assistant superintendent of dispatch. I've always looked at it that I wouldn't want somebody growing up as a dispatcher to come across and tell me how to fight a fire, right? And the way that it's been listed in the past was that, they're being led by people who grow up as fire only to come across and tell them how to dispatch. Now, we increase their career path, and we get them more leadership from within. So their promotions are going to be occurring from within rather than from without. With that, we're realizing a reduction in cost. And that's why I can realize a $530,000 reduction. I'm doing it all in civilianization and staffing. And once again, if I move 2 people up into superintendent, assistant superintendent, 2 move up into supervisor, 2 move up into senior, and we get to hire 2 more PSTs. With the merger that has already occurred, and the physical merger happening roughly in the March 3rd area, we're going to see a very much more responsive, respondent dispatching force that now knows that they're appreciated and they're going to be compensated fairly, and they have the opportunity now to achieve 4 different supervisory ranks, where in the past there literally was none, and in the police dispatch there was actually none at all. So it's this is a very, very big change, and with that, I'm doing this with a cost savings because there is a give and a get. I understand. When I started this merger, speaking with the DCA, it was known immediately that deputy chief position was coming and going, and that was realized very, very quickly, and now we're ready for that, and we have 2 very senior dispatchers that will be promoted. They're promoted via seniority. They've been there for 38 years and 30 years respectively plus, that have been incredible throughout the years. So, a happy employee works harder for you, and now in doing that, we're being responsive to the employee. They're being treated fairly. They're going to be promoted from within, and they're going to manage themselves throughout rather than having a firefighter tell them how to dispatch. And they have more job opportunity, growth opportunity that they've never had before. So those are really my biggest focuses this year in gathering as much savings as I can. And as you can see, that alone garnered that savings. Now, with that, if you were to go back, and I'm sorry I'm jumping around, but if you notice, I'm kind of, because of that merger, I'm kind of playing off of both sides to show you where I'm getting savings in both budgets total. And the next year, it should be more static. So if you look at the I guess page 1 of the main calendar year 21, the big spreadsheet, and you go down to, I think it's EMT training course 2415 EMT training course. You'll notice you see $40,000 there, and last year there was $43,000, which we didn't use. This year we're going to use it, and I'll tell you where the benefit is. What we did in the fire department was we took the EMT CEUs that they are mandated to have 24 elective CEUs within 3 years. When they come to the end of that, it costs roughly, in a 3-year period, $330,000 in compensatory time, or if that compensatory time runs over, it's time and a half pay, which we don't let happen. So with that, doing it in-house, we now have removed $330,000 worth of compensatory time. That makes it easier for us to get in our accrued time off. That means less impact on overtime. That means more firefighters that are on the line working during the day rather than having that $330,000 in time. So 24 hours per person for 360 EMTs is a substantial amount of time off. That could actually turn into payouts and things of that nature. We now have cut that in half, and next year I have a plan to cut the other half out as well in a cost savings measure. So that's another place that I was looking, where you see the $40,000 I'm going to spend on actual training, where we're going to see that $110,000 realized reduction. And there's no change in the budget with that. But this year I'll be spending it down. And then there was one other area I wanted to focus on. If you look at 9060, I'm sorry if I'm jumping around, but you're going to notice you're going to see a big jump in 9060 on the operating expenses, where it goes from $463,850 to $660,000. So now with that, mind you, I've reduced the 9060 budget by just over $1,000 in doing this. That's even after making the changes with the superintendent, assistant superintendent, all that. That budget is now down. Included in outside services 2412 is a combined lease purchase of radios for all police and firefighters. All. So that is a combined effort that myself and Chief Acora and under Director Spezial's leadership that we're doing together. That's going to make communications better. We're using radios that are reconditioned, in some cases 20 years old. And I was hoping to get a grant for it through the AFG, and we didn't get it. So this is the next opportunity to do it. And I said, how do I do this while keeping the budget down and merging into a new building? And I managed to do that. And in partnership, in cooperation with the police department, we managed, the more you buy, the more you save in it. And then I'll be budgeting that for roughly 6 years. And instead of paying for little by little, we're going to have new radios that are higher power, longer lasting, safer, locatable, GPSable, have better emergency buttons and better communication throughout, as well as they're multi-band radios, meaning not only can I speak to the police department, but I can speak to all mutual aid departments that actually come into the city here, which unfortunately happens too much. So that's the big change there, where you see that go up, but you'll also see with that, the overall budget has still been reduced by over $1,000 per 9060. And in together, the two budgets that I'm managing, and I cut out We used to have 4 budgets, and I cut it down to 2 to be more manageable. There's a 5105, which is fire, and that also includes now EMS. And then there's 9060, which includes OEM and the 5103 line of dispatch. So now there's nothing hidden. It's very readable. It's more right up front, and it's easier for me to manage overall. So with that, those are my biggest focuses this year. We did have some attrition in this. Is also the presumed payouts for retirees, which was a change from last year as well, which is why if you look in the budget, you would see a big jump from 19 to 20, because we started, instead of bonding payouts, we started putting them into the budget. And even with that, I'm still showing that reduction from last year's budget, and very responsible, I believe, in how we're approaching it, and that's pretty much where I'm at. If there's any questions, I'm all ears.
And Council President, I'd like to just note one thing here too. This will be as we move forward into the new fiscal year, beginning in January, where we won't have that dedicated CARES funding to support a lot of our work. We are going to be revisiting all the budgets, getting a sense of throughout the month of December what overtime costs might end up being. So some of the overtime might be topped up. But when it comes to purchases, OE purchases, we will likely try to prior or keep them and put them all within the 90/60 budget, just so that it's not an outlier for departments to show, DPW from year to year will stay static, and OEM will sort of be where any of the emergency costs will be located.
So with that stated, and then I'm going to open it up for council colleagues for questions. With what you just stated, Madam BA, is that a revenue forecast that you're putting in place in addition to expenditures based on what we've experienced on COVID now that we're in the middle of an uptick in the COVID numbers? Are you doing that now to project what it possibly could look like for January? Is that going to be done across the board for everyone? And what will that look like?
Yeah, it is something that we are starting to do, especially there are a lot of most departments will not be able to take advantage of the FEMA overtime. That's really going to be where public safety is able to do that. So going forward in the new year, we'll still have some public safety overtime that's COVID specific, but the other departments will need to budget for those adequately. Again, we don't know what the climate's going to look like from the federal government. There might be another round of CARES funding, especially with the new president. So it's something that we'll be ready to adjust if need be. I think those early, and we'll be working with the CFO on this, those early temporary budgets are going to just have to have the space for some of those early needs before we know whether there's going to be any additional funding. But a lot of on the supply side, we are, making those purchases now, so we don't a lot of it will be something that we'll be able to absorb as kind of our standard policy now. But yes, that will be, between the months of November and December will really give us the best sense of what it's looking like. Because it is very different already from October and September in terms of our projections.
And just a recommendation, since you're looking into putting that together, I think it would be suffice for us as a municipality to put some limitations on even overtime, right? We know that with COVID, the uptick, we don't know what that looks like, but we have to be able to kind of put parameters and control the boundaries around how much could be taken, especially if it's going to go in these tight budgets where they're not able to pretty much do all of what they need to do because the budgets are kind of constrained. So I think that needs to be a part of the discussion for what you're looking at for November and December, moving forward into January if we go that far. So I think that needs to be a part of that. Like, what will that look like if COVID goes to January? Overtime, what has it been in the past? What do we need to do now? I see there's a governor's executive order that is now saying there's only a maximum of 10 inside, and then 150 and a couple days after that, for outside. So since we know that and the numbers are climbing, I think proactive planning will be in the best interest of the municipality and the departments so that they don't squander their budgets by overtime. It could easily happen with snow, winter, overtime, right? All the things that are happening, illnesses. So I want to make sure that we're helping. I'm going to open it up. I have some questions and comments for the chief, but let me see. Do council colleagues?
Who go first? You want me?
Councilman Cotton and then Councilman.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure who was calling first. I just want to say to the chief, I'm looking at the positions on the. Now, what I'm trying to understand is you have a senior clerk typist only at 47, and then you have a clerk typist, and which would go to 50, and then you have another clerk one. Well, what's the difference between why are they making more than say the keyboard clerk? So the keyboard clerk who was making the 42 must have left, and you're gonna bring somebody in at the lower salary. But now you got clerk one and clerk typist, and I see how much jump you put in there. But I would think that the senior clerk typist should be more than clerk one, clerk typist. That's it would seem that would be should be it. I don't see if she's considered senior, that means she's on top of them. Or he. I'm not sure who it is.
Chief, I think he's froze. Okay, he's chief.
Am I back?
Yes.
You're
All
right.
right, so I heard that. So basically, I have to fix some of the position typing. What happened was in the throughout the year, they I guess their positions were desk audited, and it was found that they were doing multiple tasks because we cut back the clerks by about 2. So they've been taking on extra responsibilities. So through the legal department, they were brought up to a different pay scale, which I approved of, and then why they're different is based on their time in grade, their years here. So.
Well, I would think that a senior clerk would be more than a clerk one and a clerk typist. I mean, if you use that title, I would think they would be higher more years than the other two. Or even.
Well, I think clerk one is higher than a clerk typist and a senior clerk typist.
Oh, you think so?
I think so. I'll double check on I think the positions have been updated in Edmonds, and what I'll do is after this, Madam BA, I will validate the positions as they're written on there, because their positions are actually altered from the last budget cycle. I'll make sure that can be a typo, which would be on my part, and I will fix that, but I'll get back to you with the answer. I do know that each one of the positions that are here are paid commensurate with the time that they have here,
Okay.
and a position that they've earned.
Okay, so you're saying that a senior clerk probably has less time than a clerk one and a clerk typist. That's what you're thinking.
Yes.
Right, and then you got a new person coming in. I guess the other one might have left.
Yes.
She jumped down. I mean, you dropped hers down. Now, I also see, Chief, that you put in another 25,000 for protection equipment. Are we doing another class for the fire department?
Yes, we are. I requested 25 positions, not to go beyond the 269 that I dropped down to, and that would be starting preferably in February, where I made the request to the BA's office, and they're working to get that through the DCA and get the certifications out so we can get it moving.
So you're gonna take the list that we're working on now, right, for the fire department, the old list.
That is correct.
Right.
That is the current list is what we are drawing off of. Yes.
Right, the old list. And only the last thing is that I see I was looking at the I can't say the fire hoses. You really jumped up a lot on the fire hoses. What happened with that?
Yeah. So what we have. So we're looking to get what's called ISO Class 1 rating. If we get ISO Class 1 rating, we're going to see a substantial reduction in fire insurance for the citizens of Paterson as a whole. With that, there's 2 issues. One, a lot of hose broke this year. We had a lot of fires. And, with the pressures that we operate at and the glass and nails and stuff on the ground, they break. Second thing is I need to have my spare engine by ISO Class 1 standards. I have to have it full of hose. So in order for me to get the hose on that spare engine so it's ready to go, and replace hose that broke during hose testing and or broke during fires, this year, as I did the inventory on the hose, I felt that it was important for me to up the stock of fire hose. And leading into going through the winters when we really start bursting them pretty good.
Okay. Chief, where's the dispatchers?
Dispatchers are 9060.
What is it?
It's going to be at page
960.
5.
On page 5?
Yeah, if you go to page 5.
Okay.
All right, so if you look at superintendent, that is a new position with the commensurate salary. The assistant superintendent with the commensurate salary. 10 supervisors, which is just no change from last year. 4 senior public safety telecommunicators, which is a change in 2, down, and 36 dispatchers, which is a rise in 1.
Right.
So right now, with the way that we'll do it, there'll be 16 dispatchers assigned per shift.
Okay. So in other words, the superintendent and assistant superintendent, they're not firefighters, they're civilians.
They are dispatchers that have been promoted out through the ranks of the dispatchers. They will not be firefighters, no.
Oh, okay, and then the 10 supervisors are still dispatchers, but you just promoting,
From within. So a public safety telecommunicator, their next step up is the senior. That's their next promotion.
Okay.
The next promotion after that is supervising public safety.
Okay.
And then assistant superintendent and superintendent.
Okay. All right. So now all these dispatchers are is your budget covering everyone, the DPW, police department, everybody?
Yes.
Are you covering all of them, right? You're covering, once we're able to do this command center, you're covering everybody. I mean, the DPW, the fire department,
Yeah, they were in the budget last year. The three DPW workers were in the budget last year.
Okay.
And they're in this year, but they have not been merged over.
Right, Chief, that's the one thing, if you look at that page 5, you'll see that the radio dispatchers, we did have them in last year as part of this, but I think they still remain in the DPW one. Once it all gets merged, we'll have a conversation about whether they are actually gonna live over there within that budget.
And I've spoken, myself and Director Rodriguez have talked about that.
Okay.
We don't want to bring people over that are uncomfortable going to a position as stressful as dispatcher. And he and I are going to work that all out. It's been, we have a good relationship, very good.
Okay.
Councilman Chowdhury? Were you done, Councilman McConnell?
Oh, yeah, I'm finished.
Okay, Councilman Chowdhury?
Hey, Council President. First off, I just want to say, Chief, that it's really great to see a unified command structure. There's jointness, kind of like in the military, we did the same thing too, where we had our radios synced with everybody. It was much more efficient use of time and effort. I just had a couple comments and questions. The first one, I'm not sure if it was already answered. The administrative secretary, is it just there's a 13% increase? Is that because of the additional duties that are being given to the secretary?
Yes, and when we went through that, that was basically, it was a desk audit of the position to find that she was doing significantly more work. With that, like I said, over the years, we dropped 2 or 3 clerks, reduced it out of our budget throughout the years. And somebody has to pick up that work. And, with that, we've been doing a lot more as far as admin's entries and things of that nature. And they're taking it on and doing a great job.
Has there been any consideration of possibly creating like a volunteer fire force, or will that not work with our municipality because of our size?
Well, with our size and rating, I mean, adding volunteers to the force would significantly reduce our ISO rating. It is a union closed shop, And I know I respect the unionized personnel. We have had an auxiliary firefighting force in the past, which honestly, in my witnessing, was unsafe, unstructured, and something that ended up becoming a danger and a problem within the firehouses. Where we are focusing is on building interest in the fire service from the youth. So we actually now are in cooperation with the police department and the PAL in running 2 junior fire police academies. We run one with Augie through the PAL. They were supposed to have their graduation on Saturday, but due to COVID, we could not do that. We also run in cooperation with the Paterson Police, the Explorer Post #1, which has been a tremendous hit. And we're trying to impact youth so that they want to be firefighters here and obtain jobs as firefighters here. That's really the biggest focus that we can do in order to build our force here. The other thing that we want to do where we can focus on volunteerism is through the Community Emergency Response Team. So that's where our Director of Emergency Management, Troy Ayers, and myself, as well as Director Spezial, are working on building a force of CERT volunteers. And the plan is to have a CERT captain assigned in each ward. We use that captain to help garner support and get training from within each one of those. We have people that are going to be going through the CERT Academy soon. I believe the number is 12. And we want to build that slow and steady and get that a little more active. There is a tremendous place for the CERT volunteers to facilitate during and post-fire emergency. I mean, they'd be amazing. And with the utilization of the Emerge Communications Center, OEM Center over at 167 Pennsylvania Avenue, that is a perfect place for us to start really focusing on the building blocks of a proper Office of Emergency Management. And, that's where we bring counseling services in. That's where we bring the CERT volunteers, the Explorer Post, the PAL kids get to go over there. The police and fire combined training in association and in concert with Passaic County Community College for job development, for dispatching, and the list goes on and on. But the Community Emergency Response Team is where I want to garner that volunteerism.
Well, thank you again, Chief, and I appreciate everything that your men and women do, especially the last couple of weeks. It's incredibly difficult. So thank you again.
Thank you. It's been busy. Another bad day today. But,
Yeah. Thank you, Councilman Gilman. So I have a couple questions. Councilman Gilman took one of my questions, so I just thank him for that. I have a question on outside services. It's on page 6. It's a 42.3% increase. Can you explain what that entails?
Sure. That's where I actually dropped that number down and I raised it up 300,000. That's where I put the combined purchase of police and fire portable radios.
Okay.
So that's a huge infrastructure upgrade that we both police and fire need desperately.
So with the purchase, do we have warranties on the radio?
Yes. Sure. This is going to go with a full service contract, which is something that we don't have now. We kind of, we pay per radio as we go. So this will go with a service contract, a replacement contract, and maintenance of same. So if they were to break down, we get replacements, and it's a very strong. And you'll see the contract come through when we do the resolution for it. If this is approved, when we do the resolution for it next year, you guys will see the full contract through state contract purchasing through Motorola. That you see the radios, what we're doing with them, the protections that we have, the maintenance plan, and the coverage that we get with the radios.
So with the new purchase of the radios, will it be able to handle the bandwidth of all of the departments as well as extending beyond Paterson? Because I know we do work outside of Paterson as well. I just want to make sure that when we make this purchase, all of those things are part of the discussion of purchase, so that we don't have to go back and phase out to add or have to use more funds for it. So just make sure those.
You are right on track, and that was our major focus for police department detectives and brass, fire department brass, and line company officers all get what's called a multi-band radio. It's an APX 6000 radio. What it does is that radio can actually hit all different bands. So you operate on 800 megahertz, 700, 600, 500, not so much 600, but 500 and 400. With those multi-band radios, you can actually program in all different ones. So right now, we can't talk to, say, fire department, and they're in here a lot and we're over there a lot. We can't talk to Clifton because the three of us are on different radio systems. With the multi-band radios, we have the ability to talk to all departments that come in, and the police department, parallel, also has the ability to speak to other entities, not just police departments, but anybody that they're cooperative with, whether it's the ATF, FBI, Passaic County Prosecutor's Office, Sheriff's Department, or whomever the police department deems as necessary for them to speak with. State police networks, you name it, it can all go in there. So yes, we absolutely took that into, these are the most modernized radios that we can possibly get, and it's a good thing for the city because communication will be that much better.
I have two more questions and then I have
Sure.
two requests. My next question is professional development. How much professional development is given in your department or is allowed? Is that a part of your budget allowance? Do you request it on a yearly basis, quarterly? What does that look like in the fire department, professional development?
Right, so as far as professional development for fire, it's strong, and that's something that's built within the budget. With the civilian clerical staff is where we're starting to focus a little more on job training. The biggest thing that we focused on this year was getting adept at and smart with admins. The next things that we're doing are, and I have Reese Tucker has been fantastic in providing me different ways to bring clerical staff to a different level, whether it's getting more educated just in Office, Word, Excel, and so that they can build spreadsheets and understand how to build the spreadsheets, or in some cases attending college classes that are geared towards the job that they perform, which the city does allow anyway. You know, so we've been getting, Maurice has been working with me to get more information on how to develop the clerical staff. That's the biggest place. The fire inspectors have mandated job development that they have to do by the Division of Fire Safety. The EMTs have mandated job development, and we train with the EMTs in fire like hundreds and hundreds of hours a year that we put into each individual firefighter EMT. So the biggest focus that we have, and the next focus that we're doing is with our mechanics. So we're getting them to understand and use different computer diagnostics. Now with the use of hybrid vehicles, when they start coming in, or electric vehicles, they'll be trained on how to operate that. We'll be increasing their diesel certification, so they're a little more rounded, those that don't have diesel certifications, and those sorts of things. So there is absolutely focus on job development, but it is focused mostly on the civilian mechanics and the civilian clerical workers.
So two things, and I think they're more of requests than anything else, and then a statement. I would like to see, Chief and Madam BA, a list. We've had a lot of fires. I made this request with the recent fire, but I've been concerned. We have a lot of fires that are taking place, even one today. Many I may know, don't know. But I would like to see a list of all fires that initiated in the basement or the attic. We have an unprecedented number of squatters that are all over our city, right? Which we have a major concern. But I just would like to see a report of the fires probably over the last 3 years, maybe three. If 5 is good, if I can get 5 is fine. But I just want to see the last 3 years that are from basements and attics. I just want to see what that looks like, and then I'll ask some other questions about that at another time, but I just want to see a report. The second thing is, I remember coming on, working with the fire department, Bronte organization in particular, where we went out, got about 1,000 people to register to become firefighters. They work with them, train them on the test. I know that we're gonna be looking to gain more. I wanna see the ratio of what that looked like, how many people took the test, how many people passed the test, and what does that number look like into what the ask is for how many openings that we will have. Because a lot of times,
Well, I know, let me just first of all, with the one thing about about getting out there, not just the bronze seat, the fire department was the initiator of all of that.
that's
You
what I
know,
said.
and we put together
I said that. I
major
said that
staff
to
to
you.
do that.
I said that to you.
So, I'm sorry, must have, because you're cutting in and out in some points.
Well,
I just wanna make sure that, not that I'm seeking credit, but I just wanna let everybody know that I'm doing my job.
yeah,
And
no,
I'm being
I
very
said it.
responsible
Trust
in
me,
that.
I said it. I said the fire department, and I work with Bronte. I said the fire department. Trust me,
Good,
Chief.
and the bronze seat was amazing too, I just,
Yeah, I said the fire department. I did. I
uh,
would give it to you.
so the problem that we get into with trying to get those numbers is the state does not release any information to us in regard to who took the test. So the only thing that we can do is see who is on the list, right? So we don't know who signed up and didn't show up, right? Because we signed up, I couldn't tell you how many people we signed up. And I know you yourself, doctor, you put through, you paid for many, and Councilwoman Cotton, and you guys paid for a bunch of people to take these tests, and that was a great thing. The state will not tell us who was a no-show that signed up, and they don't give us who failed. They only give us a promulgated list, and when we get it, we actually did a cross-check for who we got on our list and who presented on the list. But it's not true for who we signed up, and I think some people become despondent when it's time to take the test. They just forget or just don't go, or however it may be. But the number that I'm going to give you is going to be what I got. We looked at the current list that is active versus what we did the education, because we ran about 30 classes here at the firehouse where we did math and English and all of that, and we took down their names and we followed up with them, and tried to give reminders. Hey, when's your test? Did you get it? And we did a lot of follow up, and that was under Deputy Chief Hancock, now retired, who really spearheaded that in just a great way. So that's how, when I give the numbers, that's where they're gonna come from. It's not gonna say who signed up and didn't show up. It's not gonna say who signed up and failed. It's only gonna say who showed up on the list. We've called, Chief Hancock tried and tried and tried. We've called, and we had really we got nowhere with them. They're like, we do the entire state, we can't give you all that. So they wouldn't do it.
I mean, that's a great start. I'll take that. And then here's an idea, Madam BA. I know we're in COVID, but I briefly spoke to Director Speezy Al about this. But I think it would be a great opportunity of partnership since we're combining OEM and we're combining police, fire, even DPW, other departments. But I would like to see some type of consortium or co-ed program developed that partners with the school district. So we can get some of our juniors and seniors more motivated and involved, and we can bring in so that we're matching the clause that said we should be hiring internally from Paterson. I think if we start in the schools and partner through our police, fire, DPW, different departments, we can start doing a co-ed program and continuing credits for them. But it also allows us to have some of those young, great minds working in the great city of Paterson. So we could do that offline and talk about that and have a meeting with Ms. Schaefer. But I think that would be an amazing idea of like doing a co-ed program.
I'd be all in on that, absolutely.
Councilwoman Cotton?
Yeah, I just need to say, Chief, that, and I'm not quite sure how you're gonna be able to do this, but, I always tell my constituents, if you got an abandoned house next to you, or a house that's really not sealed up good, the fire today on Pearl Street was because that house been empty for probably over 10 years, maybe even more than that.
No doubt.
I don't know how we can work like I try to tell my constituents, if you got something next to you, I have a lady on Hamilton Ave, she calls me all the time, and I make sure that we send someone over there to board up that house, make sure nobody can't get in there. Because I was so upset. I was in the store bodega, and they're buying candles. They're buying candles, meaning that
Yeah.
I think they think the candle's gonna keep them warm, but it really isn't. And the next thing you know, the house is on fire. So between the fire department, between DPW, and between community improvement, we gotta be able to close up these houses so that they cannot get in here. And whatever
So,
we come up with, it would be so appreciated. You know what I mean?
Councilwoman, you're so spot on. And just today, I had a conversation with community development, the subcode official Darius Radojevic. Also spoke with some of my deputies here. One of the things that we used to do was, and Keith Calderon, who's now a police officer, was kind of the lead inspector on this, where we had our daily task force in concert with the DPW, the board up crew, in concert with a community development inspector, a zoning inspector, and they went as a team, and their job was street by street by street, just going to vacant, abandoned, dilapidated buildings, flushing them out with a police officer, and then boarding it up, and then putting a lien on the property. And I know, Billy, the Director Rodriguez called, not more than last week on, he found a building and said, can we get an inspector out here and police, and we all got together and they took care of the building. Today, the one on Van Houten on Pearl Street we cited that unsafe structure in 1819. It was on the building list to be demolished, and I called the legal department, Ben David Sullivan, today to work on, I want to tear that building down. I want it gone. It was very depressing. I remember the fire last year, which occurred in November, around the same time, and I looked at the house next door and I saw Christmas decorations, and they're trying to make it something their home and be happy, only to have a dilapidated building just burning like crazy. And guess what? The exact same thing I witnessed today. And it's unfortunate, but I can tell you this: I am absolutely on a charge to go at that building and get it down legally, of course. But I am going to get that building down. I have the building department on my side with it. I have the legal department on my side, and we're going to work to clean that mess up, because that is it's horrible. And that's not the only one in the city, but that is one of the worst.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Thank you, Chief. Any more questions? So, Chief, thank you so much for this budget. I see that in your budget, you really, really did your due diligence and ensuring that you put the residents first. Just a final question: with the budget that you have presented before us, do you believe, with everything that you have forecasted and identified and shifted around with the combination of OEM, do you believe that this budget will suffice for all of the needs that you'll have in this upcoming year with the budget that you presented?
I do, and that's the only other needs, and I don't know if we discussed them here, would be my request for bonding. But as far as for me working throughout my entire year and cover my overtime and my overhead, absolutely, I am 100% confident that I'll cover everything, yes.
Thank you, Chief. So you were on a good roll, then you said bonding, then I was like, I took my glasses off. Good. Thanks, Chief. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Can we go on to economic development, please? And I want to acknowledge Councilman Jackson. I think I did, yeah, he's on, Councilman Jackson. Madam EA, can you do the overview for economic development, please?
Great. Thank you, Council President. Yes, you have your budgets for the various divisions in front of you. I think you'll see that most of them are the same. And again, one item to note here, when you see the percentage change on different salaries, that's because we are embedding in the 2%. And as part of last year's, when we did the budget hearing and when we did the transition year, we were embedding the 2% in, even though it was just the 6-month year. So now this sort of makes up for it over the span of the last year and a half. and the projection of the 2021 year is a total of 5% increase. 4% had already been embedded in their salary lines, and then this additional 1% is what you'll see from last year's to this year. That's across the board with all the departments. So that's why you'll see the majority of them will be that number. For economic development, you'll see a couple of the additions that are, or big changes from year to year. We are adding some part-time inspectors. I know that the council members have been talking about this, and we've been hoping to do this. We're starting small, but again, by introduction, maybe we'll be able to go a little bigger. But you'll see that there's at least under both the planning and zoning divisions and community improvements divisions, there are 2 inspectors, a supervisor and a regular one that will be for nights and weekends, and these guys will talk about that in some more detail. And I think we are kind of fully embedding the UCC as a separate budget line. We started doing this last year. We had our finance team has been working kind of to do a more regular audit on this, including we had our outside auditors do that for this past year, so that those budget numbers are becoming a little bit more firm with what we expect from year to year. So those are really the kind of the 2 big things, and then I'll let these guys walk you through the different divisions.
I don't want to bust your bubble, but I'm a little excited. Weekend inspectors, night inspectors, like, shoot.
Precisely.
Finally.
And that's what the community needs. And I just want to thank Madam BA. I also want to thank Lydia and Osmond Charles, who's here, our associate director, who's done a remarkable job at helping to kind of shepherd the process, as well as Marge and her team. So again, we really obviously are trying to stay as budget neutral as humanly possible. And it's really about right-sizing the divisions that are underneath us. So we're talking planning and zoning, community improvements, UCC, economic development management, and ultimately redevelopment, and then we have the boards. And so what you see before you in terms of the budget is a representation of how best to kind of move them forward. As the BA alluded to, we want to try and, the biggest change is really this kind of supervisory role, as well as some part-time inspectors. And so other than that, it's really about right-sizing the divisions with regards to the purview of which people sit and ultimately what they are responsible for. And so however folks want to proceed, I can go line by line in terms of the different divisions.
Can we do, starting at page 7, can we do it in order? That way it's easier and it's more manageable to follow for all the council members, please?
Absolutely. So what you see on page 7 is the proposed budget, which again, the only real changes here is there's a moving of housing and zoning inspectors that were once at CI. The reality is that the housing inspectors have to be at CI because that's the purview of CI. The housing and zoning have to be ultimately overseen by the zoning office. And so that's, we've moved folks from there to there, so it's just kind of moving dollars from division lines. And then ultimately, the other change is a management specialist that's coming in. And the idea of this position also is to kind of help us with the escrow, which we are now doing because of DCA, but also because it's the right thing for us to do, but to help, methodically kind of make sure that we're doing that appropriately. And I think that, I don't know if there's any other change that I should highlight. You're on mute.
Definitely not. I think you, for the most part, addressed everything for this particular division, and we can move on to the next division unless there's any questions in specific to this division.
So before we move, I just have just a question. Any council members have a question before I ask a question? Not yet? Okay. So just a question. So the management specialist, right? I'm big on needs-based assessment. So what identified that there was a need to bring on a management specialist for $60,000 versus someone internally in the department doing this particular job? Like why the need now? Like we're in COVID, so we have to really be in a place where if it's not a need or an urgent request now, like for me, for example, in this umbrella of department, I'm not sure yet because we'll be going through it line by line, but how many inspectors are weekend evening, right? So if that salary, say, is 40 or 30, I would rather bring in two more weekend or evening inspectors versus a management specialist if that's something we can deal with internally until we're able to bring someone in as a management specialist to handle escrow. Like we have to deal with what are the immediate need. Like there's an immediate need for inspectors. I don't think evening and weekend. I don't think two will be enough, right? So if we're able to shift that around and say 60,000, we can shift that and bring in two more inspectors to do evening and Saturday. That to me would be more suffice than a management specialist just to handle escrow. So
Well,
I
no,
would,
it's not just escrow, I'll be abundantly clear. The reality of the situation is that we are inundated right now from a development perspective. And so from, what I would say is that the two major boards that are tied in with economic development, which includes planning, zoning, and ultimately the Board of Adjustment, we're having a record level of applications and a whole host of other things that are critically important to the sustainability and to the viability of the department. And so this position is designed, I'm oversimplifying that, the idea of the escrow stuff is that we have to get that focus on, but they're also gonna be working on, kind of moving us into a data-rich environment with regards to all of our applications that are coming in throughout the two boards. And this is a huge undertaking and we are extremely understaffed. I mean, just a little bit of like overview, right? So the total budget is about $3.5 million for the third largest city in the state of New Jersey. That is, I've run nonprofits that have a bigger budget than that. And we are in charge. We are the third largest city and we need help to get us to the right space. And so I just.
well, I understand all that, but my point is, and I'm gonna bring you in, Madam BA. I get all of that, but when we're going through the budget hearing process, to my understanding, you're coming to us to present things that you are like. It's like a wish list. I'm saying to you, it's just me. I can't speak for the entire council, but I know Councilwoman Cotton will definitely agree because she's mentioned it and other council members have stated it about evening and weekend inspectors. We all agree. I'm not sure what that base salary, that may be something good to know, if it's 30, whatever that salary is. But for me personally, I can only speak for myself, I would rather see more weekend and evening inspectors with all the violations we have going on throughout the city, right? That will be revenue generators. This person, management specialist, even though you're saying it's needed, is it needed now or do we need to address the violations through the city, which will bring in revenue to help with the budget deficits? That has to be the mindset that when we're doing these budgets, especially in the department that generates revenue. That's why I've asked, I don't think I've received it yet, I've asked what has been the deficit now that we're in COVID. The department had a revenue generating departments. So when we look at these departments, we have to help them make their job easier. We have to make sure they have the manpower and the resources to be effective and efficient in their job. And a management specialist, not saying we won't ever need it, I just don't believe it's something that is a priority right now over a weekend and an evening inspector. So Osner, Madam BA, in that order.
Madam BA, would you prefer that I defer to you and then?
Oh, you can jump in, and then I could give the larger scale on this, so.
Okay, so what I would definitely say is that I completely agree with you, Councilwoman. However, right now, what COVID has actually showed us was that analytics is super duper important in this specific time. Well, with your help and with your support, hopefully we can get the both of them at the same time. Because I do agree that we need to have more inspectors out there that help us generate revenue, but more importantly, the inspectors will help us address the quality of life issue. But the management specialists, their ultimate role in our department is not only to manage our data analytics, but we have just, the council just voted on SDL not too long ago. SDL is our software that will help us start to streamline and allow us to be able to identify exactly where we need growth, exactly where we're lacking in our operation. So having a management specialist come along will help us streamline a number of different duties that's within not only that division, but within our department as a whole. but we're definitely looking, as you can see, we backed out a number of inspectors with the hopes that the council would ask for more, and it's there so that way we can put them in. So for the management specialist, I would definitely say we definitely need that, but if you guys are okay with increasing our budget to make sure that we can get some more inspectors, we would be more than welcome to bring them aboard as well.
Let me say before Madam BA speaks, I'm not saying increase, I'm saying remove the specialist for now and put those inspectors in. That's what I'm saying. So I get it. I got that was a
Go report
point. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to make sure we streamline and only do what's absolutely necessary at this particular juncture when it comes to our budget process. Madam BA?
Sure, and so if I can just speak to that title in general, the management specialist title, we've mentioned this before in a couple other areas, that we're using that as a way to build some middle management skill sets across the city. So you'll see that we're doing that not only in economic development, but we're also doing that in DPW, and we're doing it in administration. And there might be more across the board. So it's more than a keyboarding clerk. So you'll see that in the past, there is a keyboarding clerk position in this department. That person has left, and so we're backing that out, and we're creating a management specialist position. So it's someone who's being given more responsibilities. It's someone it's a pathway for more leadership within a department, and it's someone who will be working across departments. And I want to highlight what Osner was saying. The escrow, we sort of implemented the escrow process last year, but we haven't really been able to utilize its full potential, especially in offsetting the costs that we incur as a city, not just the costs that are incurred by the outside planners and attorneys for our boards, for development projects that come forward before us. They're to manage the process of submitting, having everybody submit bills, our own internal staff submitting bills, all of that going to the city. I think that's a piece that we're leaving money on the table, just like we're, revenue generating for inspectors, because there's work being done by our staff, and we're not able to, kind of get the process going that is needed to make sure that there's more, all this development work is flowing. So this management specialist position is really leading the charge. And again, we put too much on our kind of account clerk, keyboarding clerk positions when people are capable of doing more. And that's when we get all these desk audits and people are saying, well, I'm being asked to do all this stuff, and really you should be putting me in a more of a mid-level position, and that I'm now on my way to being more of a supervisor or more of an office manager or more of a deputy director for departments. So that's why we think as a title, this is really going to be working for us across the city.
But here's my concern, right? So I go back to it again. Is it needed now? And then in addition to that, will it be a Paterson resident or an employee that has an opportunity to move up?
Absolutely.
What the concern is, right? And this is one of the reasons why I wrote the law for recognizing employees. Because if I'm working in the city, I've been making 40,000 or whatever. You bring in someone else at 60,000, 70,000, and I've been there for years. What type of morale booster is that? That's a Debbie Downer for employees that you do that. And so for me, I'm going to reiterate it. I don't know if this is something we need to do right now in this budget process more than things that will help us. Right now we're in COVID. So a lot of stuff that we're saying we need to do in the pandemic with what's happening, and we don't even know the forecast. Is it something now? And the other concern I have is that we have this process going, right? And it's probably too early to talk about it, but we'll have a process, we'll have an item like management specialist, right? That we're saying we think we need this here, we need another department, and then we're like, okay, it's a budget process. Next thing you know, it's approved, and we see job postings, right? Or someone's emailing us and saying, I want to introduce myself because I have the job. That's a real major concern. If we're going through budget hearings, it should be we're making recommendations. The administration needs to be taking into consideration what we are stating, and then going back to the table and saying, I need to reconsider that. How do we make that fit? But that's not what's happening. So that's why I'm reiterating this particular position. I'm not saying it's not needed later. I understand it totally. I was on the planning board, right? So I get when all that language came forth that we're getting the money and it came to the council and was approved. All that I understand, but the question still remains, is it something now? So I'm just asking the VA to put next to the question, I heard your responses, but put next to that, is it something that is an absolute thing that we need now without increasing it? For me, I believe that weekend and evening inspectors are more of a need than this particular item right now. If it's for right now, that's what I would say.
So, Councilwoman, you actually said a couple of things that I want to address. The first thing is yes, absolutely, will be a Paterson resident. But another thing that you made that you commented on is the fact that some of these job postings, they get posted and people just fill these positions. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is we're trying to also create a stepping stone in our department. It's very important that we show upward progression. And right now, there is no upward progression. You'll see that this budget absolutely displays that, and the manager specialist position, which is not a position that we're asking for. It's not a position where we're basically putting in new funds for. This is actually a position that was held by another party. This money was in the budget, and all we're asking to do is switch the title. Because ultimately what happens since I've been here is we have a multitude of desktop audits. So if we're going to fill the position with the secretary, we might as well put them in the right position where if and should there be a desktop audit, we can challenge it because now their role and their duties is all encompassed into one title.
All right. Well, I don't want to keep beating it. Any other councilman interject?
Council President.
I knew Councilman Jackson was coming. I knew it. I knew he was coming. Councilman Jackson.
Before I ask the question, Mr. Charles, can you please outline, I know you talked about the analytics, and I'm assuming this person will be accountable for keeping track of some statistical data and vital data that's happening in the department, but what is the specific job requirement and or job duties that will be outlined for this position?
Well, currently, right now in front of me, I don't have the job description, but we could definitely discuss that during a personnel meeting or whenever you're available.
Yeah, but I understand how.
I don't have that information right in front of you, Councilman Jackson.
So, Director Powell, do you have the requirements and job description and what exactly this person in this position is being, is there's a need to fill?
Yeah, it's a huge thing. You're breaking up there, Councilman, a little bit, so I apologize. But yeah, the fact remains is that this person is going to be a multitasking, major critical element of all of the applications that are coming in, which are now, we're seeing the highest level of applications in the city of Paterson's recent history. And so this is like to help us track all of the board applications that are coming in, both in terms of the Board of Adjustment as well as planning, and ultimately also help us to roll out the SDL program, which is going to help us tracking all the dashboards that are necessary in terms of inspection. So back to your point, Councilwoman Mims, which is that this really becomes a cornerstone piece of the pie, which is going to help us streamline the process in terms of applications, give us better data and better management, but also help us with escrow and some of the other kind of fundamental elements of revenue creation that are really important. And so this is a utility position that's going to cut across a variety of different elements within the division, but ultimately for the department as well.
SDL?
SDL, yep.
What is SDL?
So SDL is a spatial data logistics, which is going to help us. It helps with the application process in terms of digitizing all of the applications that are coming in terms of development, but it also helps in the back end in terms of inspection. So there's a spatial element to all the inspectors in terms of what they do per day, what the output is, what the kind of fines and fees are that are associated with each of the violations that happen. So it's a really big element for us, and ultimately we've been able to kind of be smart economically by using COVID as a mechanism for us to purchase it. And so this is a way for us to get a better kind of spatial data framework so that we can manage the city spatially, but ultimately, it'll tie in with inspections and ultimately revenue creation as well. Now, the other thing is the judicial side, which we don't have to go into here, but, part of what we're looking to do is to get, judges and our court system to not throw out these violations, which are, again, hurting us in terms of revenue creation, which, Councilwoman Min, in fact, you're pointing out, it is better to get inspectors, and I agree with you, nights, weekends, it's terrible. I hate coming in on Sunday and seeing trash all over the main gateways. It's travesty. But at the same time, we also need to have a management system that's gonna help us kind of move the needle forward structurally, and that's what this is about.
And in addition, yes, Councilman Jackson.
So just trying to get some before I and ask because
Your phone is breaking up. Councilman Jackson, we can't hear you.
He's frozen.
Yeah, you're frozen and you're
frozen.
yeah, you're freezing and your conversation is distorted. We can't hear you.
I'm gonna have to change my device.
Okay, we'll come back to you. They have a lot of stuff, so I'll come back whenever you change it. Just signal me. I'll bring you back on. Okay. Anyone else? Councilman Gilman, Councilwoman Cotton. Okay, we can continue. Director Powell. You're on mute, Director Powell. We can't hear you.
I'm sorry, Council President.
Yes, Councilwoman Cotton.
No, I had to step out for a second. What was the last position that you were talking about with
The management specialist on page 7.
Oh, the management special. Oh, they don't know what they're supposed to be doing yet.
Yeah, he said this is individual that will come in with all of the planning board and the zoning board of adjustment fees. They'll be inputting that data, escrow. They'll be helping with a lot of the backlog of data that they have that comes through the economic development department.
Okay.
And it's a way to internally promote employees. So when it comes to promotions, this is an opportunity to say this person has been doing X, Y, Z, which brings to another concern. I'll say that later. But this is a way, like a stepping stone, to open up a door opportunity internally to promote people within.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for the council to understand that, like, we are literally backlogged. We're getting dates out on the calendar that go in 6 months out. We have applications that are coming in that are extremely difficult to get through. And so this is where we build some of that middle management, so it really becomes a win-win for a variety of different elements that I know the council.
And you're saying that for, if I may, Council President, I mean, because I get several calls a lot about people, how stuff gets on the agenda. We're talking about the Board of Adjustment or Planning Board. I mean, like, I know people now waiting over a year to get on the Board of Adjustment, waiting over a year to get on the Planning Board. So it's to me is, how do you decide who goes first and who goes second? How do you decide that? Like, how's that done?
Well, it's basically usually on the application time period, so it's kind of like when the application was received is when it gets priority.
Okay.
Obviously, the goal is to try and move the city forward in terms of a growth mode that's equitable and value added in terms of, projects that, are ultimately designed to help really kind of be supportive of the community. And so, from local hiring to affordable and supportive housing to a whole host of other things. But it's also about when the applications are received. And honestly, it's a bit of a challenge. I mean, we've got piles of applications getting backed up. It's a big challenge. And I think that this middle management position is not just critical. I mean, again, back to the total budget and total where we are in terms of our staffing. I mean, we're talking about a $3.5 million budget overall for the third largest city. I mean, I think that we got to grow it right.
I think that we need to do like, how people fill out an application for senior housing and, they go by the number. Because I'm telling you, I see people coming in after the fact and they're getting on board, they're getting their items heard way before people who's been waiting. So I think we got to start like numbering. Okay, you're one, then you're going to be, And that's how it should be brought to the board, because I can see people, I have a community center, by a church that's been trying to get on the, Board of Adjustment over a year now. It's over a year. They haven't heard the case yet. This church has he took a house and made it a community center for the after-school program for the children in the community, and I could not see anybody in that area, saying they did not want a community center. It's really more like an after-school program, helping the children with their homes and stuff. So we gotta come up with something like, we're gonna start numbering them on how they are coming in and who gets heard first and who gets hurt second, because I think there's something to be on the planning board or the board of adjustment.
Great point, Councilwoman. Councilman Gilman, and then I see Councilman Jackson is back.
Council President, Director Powell, can you tell me exactly how other departments are structured in terms of other peer cities, so like in New York or New Jersey City? Like how are their staffing? Is it, I know you were saying that our budget's relatively small, kind of being that they're the largest city in the state, but how are other departments similar to us structured out, do you know?
I mean, Jersey City is structured. They have a redevelopment authority. They have a whole series of an entire planning department that's made up of a series of professionals ranging from city and regional planners to kind of like daily planning professionals. I mean, I think it's a great question. I'd be happy to do kind of like a research project where we can kind of compare and contrast ourselves based on those cities that are, of our class and size. But there's also been a hollowing out of municipal officials as it relates to the kind of planning and, the type of economic development that's structured across. There's, it's been an issue in terms of a broader devolution that's happening structurally across a variety of different cities and municipalities. But the key for us is that we're also kind of in a really hot regional marketplace. And so being able to structure ourselves appropriately is really important. But I'd be happy to do some more kind of comparative analysis, and I can probably get the American Planning Association to help.
Excellent, thank you.
Great point, Councilman. Councilman Jackson?
Thank you, Council President. So I want to go right into the specifics. Quite some time ago, and I know it doesn't fall on this director specifically, but this administration, specifically the BA, talked a great deal about doing analysis and or performance reviews relative across the board. So when we look at the request for this position, I'm just going to take a case in point of what I do know. Specifically, the reports that we got back from CI a year and a half ago it's always been with great detail, and it showed the amount of revenue that we generated, and it talked about the performance of all of the inspectors that was under the director's purview. Then, when those 6 inspectors was moved, we saw the drastic drop off from the reports that the director from CI was given, and we also saw a mirrored non-performance from the division that they were moved to. So, from my perspective, in looking at that, and now showing that we have no evaluations of the people who are holding the department or division head seats, because that's where that type of statistical data and or analysis of the performance of their division is supposed to come from. But and I hate to jump on this at the moment, but it really talks about Council President, when you reference or question whether or not it's going to be a Paterson resident, that's disappointing, because the ordinance clearly says that it's supposed to be a Paterson resident. But when you look at the position of zoning officer, and to show that over a year ago, back in January of 2020, through civil service actually acknowledged that the person was not fit for the position. He didn't have the experience necessary. He didn't have the qualifications. Forget the residency. We understand that that's an issue, but he didn't have the relative experience. So if you talk about the need of hiring someone, under another administrative leg, so to speak, to do the job of where there's shortages. Where's the evaluations of the performances of the individuals who are working in the division, and whether or not they're doing the job to their capacity or what the job is supposed to be done? When you have only one director, and we saw that with the recent evaluation of the construction subcode official, and the job is just not being done. So where are we with evaluating the performance of the individuals, specifically those who are hired outside the context of what our ordinance reads? Because if there's a lack of performance, then that means the person that's holding the position in the director's seat isn't doing the job that they should be doing. And I agree with you completely, Councilwoman Mims. There's no possible way this city can move forward any longer without having a weekend and an evening inspector. That is just furthermore, the people who hold the positions are not doing their jobs when it comes to fulfilling the inspection needs from my perspective as well. So, I mean, I'm curious of when are we going to see these performance evaluations, and specifically even from the department itself. I mean, it's a Department of Economic Development. Do we have a report on how much revenue this department is bringing in? We understand I've heard multiple times where we talked about the budget, and it should be relative. So if there's in the Department of Economic Development and the budget is $3.3 million, we should be generating $6 million, $9 million. What is this department generating? Where's the reports based on performance of the department within the totality and the individual divisions to see who's doing their job and who's not doing their job before we start making additional requests for additional positions?
That's a great point, Councilman Jackson. Madam B, I saw you writing, and that goes right in alignment with needs-based assessment. To ensure that before we go out to extend ourselves to want additional, we have to make sure that we have in place those standards. As you know, I've been screaming since I've gotten here. So thank you for all that input. That was great. Can we go on to page 9, Director?
Sorry, I keep muting myself unnecessarily. I apologize in advance. So now we're moving along to our UCC department, or division, if you will, which, there's no major changes here, outside of the fact that,
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. Do we need page 9 for community improvements?
Yes.
Because then there is a separate UCC after that on page 12, Mike.
It's my fault, Madam BA. He consolidated both. There's no major change. He included that in the discussion. It was page 12.
Oh, okay, perfect. Because I just wanted to highlight there are 2 inspectors for planning and zoning and 2 for community improvement. So it's a total of 4 part-time, and I wanted to make sure that we covered both. So my apologies for interrupting.
So I just made the reference. We're on page 12, but I just want to make the reference, Madam BA and Director Powell and Assistant Director Osner, more weekend and evening inspectors. We have been asking, when you ask, Councilwoman Cotton, she knows, and so I have to commend that you have done it, right? We've been asking, and you have done it, but based on the number of the revenue that's generated, we're losing a lot of revenue, and we're not doing it for revenue. We want people to be up to code, but it's I just want us to take a look at if there's a possibility of doing 1 more of each, whether you're saying 2 of each, maybe 1 more or 2 more. Look into that possibility. We need to make sure we have more evening and weekend inspectors. We don't need to roll out anything new and have it fail. If we fail to plan, we plan to fail. So I'm just gonna put that on record. Director Powell, page 12.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, happy to put that in the budget. I mean, ultimately, it's at the whim of the council, and so we're here just to do what's right and to move the city forward. The best thing we can do is also put forward an understanding what our analysis has been in terms of our ability to govern and to manage. And so, to the extent that we can work in partnership with our council to do it right and do it often and early, we're all for it. So, in terms of page 12, what we're talking about here is. Again, these are the Uniform Construction Code budget elements. I am excited that we also got another plumbing subcode official that's been put in there so that we can, have all the right officials in the right spots so that we can, again, continue to manage appropriately. What you will note is that there's a larger equipment purchase on 23-24, which is designed to help with some vehicles for those inspectors to go out. Other than that, there's no other major changes.
So council members, if you have any questions, I just want to say I'm really glad that we are getting an in-house plumber. And I pray that, and I'll put it out there, and it's probably more for DPW, but at Tyrone Collins Park where that faucet is dripping and we need the plumber to go and to repair that at Tyrone Collins Park. We won't have to wait for a call outside, that it will be internal. So I'm really glad that we did take that recommendation and it is here. We need our home plumber in the city of Paterson. Councilwoman Cotton. You're on mute, Councilwoman.
Council President, I don't think the plumber you talking about is the plumber they're gonna be using to do plumbing work, is it? This man is just to inspect plumbing.
Well, we have been handling ourselves, so it's still city money.
No, we still need a plumber over in
That's the DPW. That's why I'm waiting for DPW.
Osmer's a plumber too. He can help us, so we'll get on that.
No, I'm not. That.
So what's
do no plumbing work because he's not there to do no plumbing work.
No, this is for the person that has the certification to qualify the work that's been done. So that's what I was saying. When it comes to DPW, that's why I said I'm gonna go there. But this one, I'm happy. We still need certified individuals in these particular areas so that we're not. The crust of the work is not under one individual, that we have other people that are certified, if we can afford it, to have them to come in to do the work. So I was just commending that. Osner?
And what we did this time around is we actually found somebody who has a dual license. So not only is he a mechanical inspector, he's also a plumbing inspector. So that's a way that we were able to make sure that we were able to cover all bases by making sure that the person that we hired had dual licenses.
Oh, so can he help us in DPW?
No.
I'm just asking.
He can check the work. He'll be able to check the work to make sure that it's working well, but I'll defer to the director of management.
It was a try. Councilman Gilman?
Thank you, Council President. So just to clarify, he holds a dual certificate, so he's a mechanical inspector as well?
Correct.
Is that a stipend that we would have to pay for him to check that, or?
No, sir.
The
position that we posted for was for someone who held both a mechanical and a plumbing license.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions on UCC? Economic Development, page 14.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman. So moving right along, again, I want to thank Austin and Charles, and I want to thank the council for helping us to build, a little bit of redundancy here in terms of having an assistant director as well. And he's been hitting the ground running. It's not been an easy situation. We got a lot of important projects that are coming forward with the city. We're seeing an unimaginable level of projects ranging from the tax credit projects that we know that are very catalytic to also kind of beginning to build a little bit of normalcy in terms of broader based planning development citywide. And a whole host of other issues that we have to do to cut across DPW, our fire chief, who's done a remarkable job as well, and so we can kind of move on some of these abandoned vacant property issues too. And so, again, I want to thank council for helping me to build some of that bandwidth, which is really important. And so nothing else has really changed here in terms of that budget line, but I want to thank the council for allowing me to get to where we are now.
Just a request. Since you've been in, I would like to see a list of all the projects that have been completed. brought in and completed under the leadership of economic development for your department, with dollar amounts to them. Like we had this project, it is this amount, whatever the total of the project was, whether it was a pilot, tax rate, all those things to be included as well, just to see the level of growth that is happening and the trajectory of growth that will happen in the next few years. Sometimes we get inundated through budget process or hearing the negative stories, but there also needs to be told some of the other stories of what has taken place, what work has been put into it, and I just want us to see, like, I think that needs to be seen so we can see that. Okay, Madam E, I'm sorry, I give a lot of stuff out, but there's a method to the madness.
I agree, and I think that, that management position too, I mean, the idea is to give you guys a dashboard as our council partner, in moving the city forward, we can't do it alone, and so being able to have good data points in terms of where we are in terms of applications and approvals, as well as, fines and fees and the likes, and so I agree with you 100%, Vice President, Councilwoman, we will get there and we will only do it together.
Thank you. Item 16, it looks like you're removing, so do you want to go over why you're removing these positions?
Okay, so we're on page 16 and 17. I think that this is Lydia she's fantastic in terms of helping us. I think that is just more of we're reorganizing. If you get to the next page, which is page 18, it's all kind of a little bit more streamlined on that front, where we have the Director of Redevelopment, the keyboarding clerk, our Historic Preservation Specialist, as well as the Secretary. It's a little bit more streamlined in that one particular budget line. So I think that's what the Finance Office was doing, which I agree with.
Okay, so currently there is, no one is in, this is a new position, the Director of Redevelopment?
No, that's the position has been in existence. It's just I didn't do all these the sheets themselves, so I think that this is the sheet 18 is a way to kind of consolidate where the Director of Redevelopment falls, because again, it's kind of a dual position in terms of historic preservation and redevelopment.
I know what it is. Okay. All right. I just was wondering. You'd be switching and changing stuff up. You got. I'm gonna be 51 next month, so you gotta keep me to task. Okay. Any questions, council members?
Easy task is usually how this works.
Any questions, council members? Okay. Let's go to the boards.
And then the final spreadsheets show the two boards, the Board of Adjustment as well as the Planning Board. Again, nothing really unchanged there. You have your professionals, so you basically have two budgets at about $55,000 and $57,000 respectively in terms of adjustment and planning, and that's about it.
Okay. Any questions, council members? I will put it back on record. The management specialist. I want to really see the real need for that position. I know it's something that probably definitely is needed at some point, but do we need it right now? I would rather see 2 more weekend and 2 more evening inspectors added to that number. I would like to see, do we know what the base salary of those positions would be? Madam Yes.
For the inspector positions?
Yes.
Yeah, so because they're the part-time, they're listed there as the new positions. It would be the 17,500 for the supervisor, and then the 15,000 for the trainee. So what we're doing.
Let's do 3 and 3. I'm saying 2 and 2.
After what we try to do for this, and we've sort of mentioned this before, and you guys have been giving us great feedback based on some of the earlier sessions. We're doing everything piecemeal, and then at the end we get to take a holistic look. Okay, are we taking out anything based on some of the council feedback, based on other things that have come up since we talked about this? Are we putting anything in, topping up certain positions, trying to put back a vacancy that maybe we had taken out during a hearing? So that's what we're taking all the information, and that's what will be in front of you as part of the budget introduction. So this is absolutely noted, and I hope we can put these in as well.
So with what they asked, right? Yes, put them prayer hands back up. With the ask of adding the additional, a listing, right? Because I want us to add, because there's definitely a need, but a priority listing based on DPW, community improvement, department heads that will give the information as to the places where there's dumping, there's excessive garbage, all those things need to be prioritized. So when we bring in these individuals, there can be targeted or strategic planning as to of where they would focus their area of attention. So they're just not coming on and we're saying go in this area and there's nothing happening. So I think we need to develop that prior to bringing on these individuals so that we can be streamlined to make sure the Broadway corridor, there was a picture on, what was that, over across from Popeyes, right across the street from
Market Street.
Market Street, so many different areas, Colt Street, where they're trying to make commercial loading zone, that's another thing. But all these different areas that we can target where these dumping things are happening, where they're working on cars on the streets, all these type of issues. So Madam BA, 6 and 6, great number. Doesn't cost, is a need. Stuff like that I'm gonna fight for. So the weekend and the part-time inspectors, 6 and 6, right? Great number. I think we should do it. I think it's something that's long overdue. We need to make it happen. Management specialists.
It's still necessary there, Counselor. It's because these guys have been operating without a clerk in that office. In part because they're really thinking about how can we get the best bang out of this position. Let's make it a little like a Uber clerk in this, and then we can have them do other things.
Or
perhaps off on it too. I think part of PCA realized that we're so far behind them. Sorry.
Perhaps 50,000 for the management specialist. Gotta have some wiggle room, right? We got 60, but perhaps 45, maybe perhaps 50. Like, so we have to find a balance. Management specialist, it helps us internally, right? But as far as the inspectors, it's an outside help to help in the city to deal with the quality of life. That's how we have to look at it from a logistics standpoint and from a quality perspective. So 45,000, 50,000, 40,000, whatever that looks like if they're doing that work, 40, 45 to ensure we get those other inspectors. Okay, so I'm gonna keep drilling that. You're gonna hear it, so don't say you didn't hear it because Director Powell's laughing. You know I'm gonna drill it. I'm not just doing it on camera. You know I'm gonna do it all behind scenes to make sure. Councilman Jackson. Oh, he's on. Councilman Jackson?
Hear me?
Now we can hear you.
I'm sorry?
Now we can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay, one second. Let me make sure, because I think I have Wi-Fi trying to kick on. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So, Council President, while we have the director here on the line, and I'm trying to get a bit of information, it was very disappointing, to see this request come through, because you have various other departments that are struggling to get personnel. For example, we're short on clerks in the tax collector's office, and I know that's not relative to this department, but when we talk about the overall budget complications, but directly to the director and to Madam BA, to yourself as the sitting council president, I took the liberty to come down here, and I have approximately 45 residents behind me, and as you can see, it's extremely cold, so we got to get a little closer so she can see you. But we're here on the corner of North Main and March Street, and so I have people like Miss Jeanette here, we have Miss Patricia McNeil. There's various people from the first ward that want to know why the director made a decision on a facility that's in their neighborhoods to bring a drug rehabilitation service to this neighborhood without the consult. Because the last week we talked about this issue, we were supposed to take community meetings around the first ward to address the concerns. There's a number of different college students here and young individuals that have obviously been shorted and slighted when it comes to the educational backdrop within the city. And so for the director who is, I continue to say it, who's become even more disrespectful, a non-Paterson resident, to say that he made the decision based on what data, what basis did he decide to make this decision without consulting with the first residents? Lastly, very quickly, Council President, I just want to address the amount of disrespect that's been taking place, not just from this administration, but specifically from the Director of Economic Development. I am, whether the Director and or the administration and the Mayor likes it or not, I am the voice that has been chosen by these individuals who live in the ward. Now, it is a rather brisk evening, and I'm sure we had almost 85 to 90 people scheduled to come out. And if you just allow him a moment before he closes his presentation, this is an element that comes through the purview of economic development. How is it that the director feels he has the ability and or the audacity to make such a decision without consulting with the residents?
Thank you, Councilman Jackson. So first of all, let me say to my amazing First Ward people, hey people, as a fellow First Wardian. So I have to say to you, first of all, I hate that my people are outside in the cold. You want to come by, I'll have some hot chocolate at the door, just come through, and I'll make sure some marshmallows on the top. Tonight,
we got plenty of hot chocolate, coffee.
You got my people outside, Councilman Jackson. So let me say this. We have to put a point of order in tonight. Tonight is a budget hearing process. We have not read a statement of compliance because we don't have an actual quorum in the meeting, right? So tonight we're going over the budget hearing process as it relates to what is being proposed from each of the department heads. So it would be outside of the order and the structure of the council to have one of our department heads to respond to the community when we cannot do a public portion because we are not in a quorum setting. So I want to apologize.
Responding to the community, if you responding to my question.
But Councilman Jackson,
community's listening, but I asked the question as to the last question.
Councilman Jackson,
the question that you asked, you allowed them to answer, and they didn't answer the question that I asked.
Let me finish. The questions I asked all throughout this process are pertaining to the budget. That is why we are here. We're not here for other items outside of the budget hearings. We are not here for what is going on in the First Ward. Those are great questions. They are poised, they can be asked, and he can definitely respond to it after 9 o'clock. And I pray that you watch me. I see he muted me, so I hope you can still hear me. And if you can't, please go to YouTube and the search button.
He did not mute you. They can still hear you.
Okay, I just want them to hear me. So First Ward residents, I want you to know this. If this was a normal council setting, absolutely, but we're not in a quorum. We only have 4 council members. We're here only discussing budget items. That's what we're here for now. Once we get another council member present, we can read the statement of compliance. Madam Clerk will go into the process of doing roll call. We are not at that place. We currently don't have a quorum. We cannot handle city business from that perspective until we get an actual quorum. So tonight, we have a meeting that starts at 9. Now, I'm not saying I want y'all out at 9 o'clock. Some of y'all should be in the bed at 9. If you're gonna call back at 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock starts our special meeting where we should have a quorum. And if you wanna call into the public portion at that time, you can be more than willing to call in at that time at 9 o'clock.
So, Council President, the community, no one from the community asked the question. I'm the First Ward councilman. I asked the director, how do you make a decision on a facility within my ward without consulting me and or the community? I asked the question. The community did not. I don't understand why you
I know that.
And run as a blocking back for this administration.
Councilman Jackson,
this administration is disrespecting not only the First Ward councilman, but the members of the ward, of the community.
Councilman Jackson, and I
why he made this decision.
I appreciate the work that you are doing. There is a protocol and there is a decorum. We operate on Faulkner Act Plan B. That's how we operate. That's how the city.
And please explain to me where in the Faulkner Act, please explain to me where in the Faulkner Act does it say that I can't ask a question to the director?
Let me finish my point. We are not in an actual setting of a council meeting. A council meeting consists of 5 council members that will come and constitute to a quorum. We don't have a quorum. A statement of compliance has not been read. There has not been a roll call. So to put anyone in a precarious situation will go against the protocol and the order that is.
How is this putting someone in a precarious situation? Can Councilman in the second ward ask the director, what's relevant in Jersey City? You allow it to listen. I'm asking the director, how did you come about making a decision in my ward and you're not allowing him to ask the question?
Jackson, come on. Look.
I'm trying to understand. Please explain to me where in Faulkner Act.
Councilman Jackson, we are in budget hearings. I have said that from the beginning.
And the decision the director made.
But you're not listening.
That impacts my ward. I'm asking the question.
Jackson, for respect. You're asking me to explain and I'm explaining it. We're in budget hearing. This is not the time for you to have and stand in the first ward with all of our wonderful first ward residents to come and have a level of debacle with the director. We're not in an actual physical meeting. We don't have a quorum. Now, if you want to bring them to a location at 9 p.m. and have them call in and they're on the public portion, that's I don't want any of my first ward people. They know I love them. I talk to them all the time.
Let me just say this. Let me just say this. Can I make one last point?
Yeah, because we have to wrap up. We have another department and we have a special meeting that we have to start on time, Councilman Jackson.
I respect that and I appreciate it. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to at least, address the director. And I'm gonna say this because I don't fight on my behalf. This is not my agenda. And I'm not here because I need or I want to take ownership of the facility. Obviously, I brought forward a plan, a partnership with Apple, where the director has personally stated that my plan was full of hot air. But I respect that. I respect the perspective and the opinion. But what I'm not going to do is allow the director to sit on the high horse and play slave master and put 2 black people.
Jackson, okay. Councilman Jackson, this has gone too far.
Council President,
I have to say this, the name calling is inappropriate because it's out of order as it is, Councilman Jackson. I love you. First ward residents, I pray you can hear me. Please.
What the director now is doing is posing 2 black.
Councilman Jackson, to my first ward residents, please put. We don't want you to be out there in our community facing a sickness over this. At 9 p.m., you can feel free to call in, call me, text me, whatever you like, but at this point, we have to move forward. Thank you to our directors of economic development. Can we move on to DPW, please? Thank you, first ward residents. I love you. Call me, text me, or call in at 9 o'clock. Director Billy and Supervisor Jackson, are you ready? Thank you, Powell and Osner. Can you hear me? Family, you ready?
You guys are.
We're ready.
All right. Captain, you go first or you want me to start? Okay.
I think I hear a Black Lives Matter commercial on.
All right, Council President, this one there are lots of different divisions, as always, where our director will walk us through. I think we are starting, as we've been using this phrase before, we're starting to right size in a lot of ways, but we're also making sure that we're making people whole who are sitting there doing work and they're not sitting in the appropriate title. So there might be some of those that you see when you look at a title that might appear new and it might look like it's new in the budget. It will be likely connected to another title that we're backing out, and someone is moving in a promotional way. I think some of the biggest changes you'll see are really we're doing some consolidating around management, and this will especially be helpful for account management, payroll oversight. Instead of having disparate people in different divisions, really consolidating that under the DPW administration. We have had some conversations about engineering, and you'll also see some changes there, not only in engineering, but collapsing where when you get to cable communications, you'll see that that division is sort of gone, because we're gonna be collapsing the traffic engineer underneath, engineering as well. So, some improvements, and I think, you'll see that we have that project coordinator construction position, which is like a project manager. We're working on the back end, trying to make sure that this is a position that you might be able to have multiple ones within a city, as well as have them work not just in UCC, for example, but also within engineering, because it could be a good fit to really serve across the board, both engineers, to help with some of all of our traffic work that's going on in Hung Chow up to this point has really been a one-man shop, as well as support the various projects that are citywide, within historic preservation or DPW and other departments. So with that, I will turn it over to these guys to walk us through.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
As the VA stated, in 6010 administration, you'll notice we added some positions to that department. Not that we added, we just moved. We took from the other divisions, let's say traffic, mostly traffic and traffic engineering. We moved those titles, the clerk, the clerk steno, we moved them into 6010 for better management. With that and the office service manager, we put them all underneath 6010.
So, Director, where did you move them from?
The
The office supervisor, the manager, where was that moved from?
from traffic,
Okay.
traffic division,
And I believe 6080.
yeah, that's what I was looking for right now.
Yeah.
6080, which was cable communication.
Okay, so just quickly, and I don't know if my council colleagues will have a question, but I see we have the same title here, management specialist. So what would this management specialist be doing in DPW?
This position will be mid-level management between me and the supervisors. I heard you say to Director Powell that with the COVID, maybe it's more necessary to get inspectors. On the flip side, I think it's more necessary to have this management to handle that aspect through DPW, since we have such a big part in it, with cleaning and responding to certain things and making sure that all our billing is on time.
Well, see, I think it's a different connotation, right? So from your department, the needs are totally different from economic development, right?
Yeah.
Where I might have hit them hard for what they need, I might not have the same hit for your department, for a management specialist. I'm just trying to understand why you need it. For them, it was more of the weekend and the evening inspectors. Not that they don't need it, I just want to understand and quantify why. So I just want to understand why DPW needs a management specialist. Is it the same reason that it's an opportunity to promote within? But what will they do? Will they be like a assistant supervisor? Like what type of role will they have?
It'll be multifaceted. They'll be seeing in-house projects that that's not going out to engineering, in-house projects, going over account management, maybe some account management, seeing facilities, especially our facilities division, overseeing a lot of that stuff.
So, okay, so here's my suggestion, right? And I know I've been drilling it, and I think it's in here at some point, we'll get there. But for this is like the project manager type stuff that I'm talking about, right? So for me, all it took was, this is the project management specialist. I don't know if that's the name you could give it, but that should be the clear definitive of what the role is, especially in DPW. Like, For me, seeing that, I'm sold, because I've been asking for project manager for over 2 years. So that should be that should be what this person, because that's what you're explaining, and that's exactly what that job is. You get what I'm saying? Which
Yeah.
helps oversee, it goes out, checks on the projects, it does whatever. So, Madam BA, can the name say project management specialist? Like,
I know.
like, and I don't know if based on the TCOP, that name can't be there, whatever, but the description should fit that of a project manager. That's
Sure.
what this role is for your department, Director Billy, and I will not fight against it. You would have I'll be all in. I might vote like 5 times by myself.
Council President, yes, and for everyone's information, I actually had sent along the civil service link and embedded the details of this position. And again, like you said, in every department, it's going to be a little bit different, but it is very much, and unfortunately, we have to stick with the civil service titles, but it is very much kind of a project manager when you see that, everything from examples of works, appraises adequacy and efficiency of operating systems, analyzes and resolves problems, compiles and interprets data, assists in coordinating the work of various units, obtains, directs, and administers, all kind of the federal documentation, state documentation that you need, maintains inventory of equipment and supplies, studies management methods to improve workflow, simplify reporting procedures, and institute cost reductions. So these are really, it's a little bit above your clerk, and it's someone who's really going to dig in deep and try to make the flow of every department a little bit better.
And so I asked for the person that will do this project management job, right? Is that they will get the appropriate systems, per chart, Gantt charts that are needed to make sure that they can really be a blessing to the directors and the supervisors of DPW. So the person in this role, Director Billy, and I know it's like a broken record, right? That I've been asking, but once you fill the right person, and I'm gonna be watching who gets hired, because if the right person fills this job and we give them the right equipment to do the job, your job will be like a cakewalk. If you get the right person in here with the per chart, Gantt chart, the software may be totally different. And if you can find somebody that's PMP certified, possibly as a preference in the description of hiring, I think that will definitely make sure you get the right person there.
I gotta disagree with you on one thing, Councilwoman.
Well, y'all going good.
A cakewalk.
Well, I'll keep that to myself. That's our private talk. But I agree. I'm all for that. Like, you definitely need a Councilwoman Cotton. Do you have Councilman Gilman? Councilwoman Cotton.
My only thing is that I'm looking for where the ticket writers. What position would that be? The ticket writers and the street sweepers.
60-50.
What is it? 50-50?
No, 60-50. We're not there yet, Councilwoman.
Oh, we're just not there yet. I'd rather take that management team and put them in the ticket person and the sweeper person, because I just can't. People are so upset. They are really so upset that the streets are not getting swept. They're just upset.
Councilwoman. Streets are getting swept 7 out today. Every day.
They're mad that they're not getting tickets. That's what they're mad. I'm saying they're mad they're not getting tickets. And I remember back in the day when the schools were open and we had teachers that didn't want their around certain school suite. We had a problem with that. We said to them, we want our street clean. It's not our fault that, that's when they decided to let them start parking in the playgrounds because, I'm just saying that we need more backup for them. Like if somebody's sick, then we gotta be able to put somebody there. That's all.
We can talk about it when we get there. So we can talk about it when we get there.
Okay.
Thank you. 24, Director?
Engineering, as you know, engineering is coming in-house December 1st. This is the new setup for some of these positions were already in the Office of Engineering. Some of these are going to be add-on positions. See what's added on at the CY 21 request. This will fulfill, and actually Fred should have been out. I should have Fred out tonight too to talk about this. But this is going to be to operate a fully operating engineering department.
So, question, the project coordinator construction, is that a project management type role as well? So here's my question, it's 45,000, why is it only 45?
Well, we wanted to start with that, but if it's something that, we feel like we're not getting good candidates as we, because I know for that position, that is part of the salary range. But if it's something that you feel very strongly about and we can, kind of see what the candidates look like, that one, we actually haven't convinced our partners at DCA about it yet for a waiver, because they, as I had mentioned to you, that they had, they wanted us to see how much was going to be able to be absorbed by, the the principal engineering aide and what projects they were going to manage. What was the engineer going to manage? What about the assistant engineer? So, that could be something that we address further with them.
So if you want, do you want me to be in the meeting to help convince them? I can, definitely get my level of input if you would like.
Sure.
Please go to the meeting to listen.
Councilor Kai said, please don't let her go on the meeting. You might get everything, but I think this, if we're gonna do management specialist at 60, then this should be commensurate to that, or at least 50. If you, and a project coordinator and engineering, that department really is going to need someone. And I'm gonna ask again in the details of the job posting that, PMP certification, not like a mandatory requirement, but it is asked, and I'm sure you'll get different type of candidates when you put that in the job description.
Right, and to clarify one thing, Council President, the management specialist is also absorbing a lot of the admin work, whereas the project coordinator is really going to be focused on, that while we have an office supervisor in that office. We're trying to use that management specialist to get a little bit more out of some of the same, people. So, but I understand your point, and we can even look at, maybe the $50,000 mark. And I agree with you on the project manager, the PMP certification.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah, because if someone's a management specialist, you're giving them 60, why would you give the project coordinator 45 and the engineering? Just like we're structuring engineering to be effective and efficient from the door. So at least mold it that way so we'll be efficient from the door. So even if you make everybody 50 or 55, whatever that is, to streamline it across so that we're, on target. Okay, questions, comments? Nope, okay, 26?
DOE of it, as you can see, outside services is down from 415 to 185. A lot of the stuff was requested from the engineer on the OE part of it.
Any questions? Oh, wow. Councilman Cotton?
Okay, you said this is for the engineer. Is it 25 or we starting on 26? Is it 26?
The OE's on 26.
Okay. Oh, okay. But where's the salary for the engineer? I thought, did we pass that already? The salary.
24.
24?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, now for the engineer, how many assistants are they gonna be?
One part-time.
Yeah, how many part-time? One?
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have where did Humtrout come in at?
Humtrout's traffic engineer.
Oh, he's traffic. He's not with this engineer.
Yeah.
Okay. You're saying, but we got more than one engineer over there now at one of them in Broadway, don't we?
No.
There's no engineers over there?
It's, we got a consultant with Fred Margaron's company is our engineer.
Oh, okay.
First we'll have an in-house engineer and an assistant engineer.
Okay, so that's what we're working on. So I'm saying over there, 111 Broadway now is just,
And just all personnel, working out of, that's DPW employees.
and what are they, director?
You have a administration secretary,
Okay.
I believe it's a keyboard clerk, and, an engineer aide that's there now.
Okay. Now, also, I see that you have to, for the engineering department, we need some guys to, go inspect the roads and stuff, like,
There's a road inspector there, a full-time road inspector.
we don't have none now, right?
Right now, no.
Right, and how much are we paying them? I don't see it in there. Okay, I see 50,000.
Yes.
That's the going rate, director?
I would say so.
Oh, okay, I mean, do they gotta have some kind of specialty, like a certification or something to be a road inspector?
Not, not any certification, just, knowledge of the work that needs to be done.
Oh, okay, all right, okay, because I know there's certain, I know, especially if you do road resurfacing and stuff, there's certain things that have to be put down,
Well,
and all that. That's what he would be doing, right?
yeah, the road inspectors of past have been trained by Fred as the, engineer. He's taught them what to look for and how to, mark it out,
Okay,
how to check depths.
And I think that principal engineering aide position will also take on some of the road inspecting responsibilities as well, while also doing some of the planning and drawing.
right.
Yeah.
And you know what, Director, I know that they're doing a lot of work, with cutting up the roads and digging and whatever they're doing. But what I find though, Director, is that they leaving a lot of their garbage, not garbage, but they'll leave a piece of equipment, wires and for weeks. Like, they just leave them on the street, like, for weeks, like, and then you gotta, that's why, okay, we definitely gotta have this road inspector, because those guys are not picking up their stuff that is. Right, we definitely need that road inspector.
You have to help us out with that. We'll have better management with utility companies coming in, leaving their stuff around. We'll have better management of that.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because that's what they're doing, they're leaving everything out, they're just like leaving it. But, all right, Director.
That's a great point, Councilwoman Cotton, and that's why I've been pushing for project managers, because they help in that particular area. They help to manage, offset, watch, before you dig orders, all that stuff, making sure that we're not doing things, double, triple work. So, I know I requested before, the needs-based assessment from Fred McGrone of the engineering, like what that structure should look like. Did we do that yet? Because I want to make sure what we utilize in the engineering department matches what we're projecting to build. I'm so glad we're doing this, because we need our internal department, but I want to make sure as this budget is being presented and we're voting, that the items in this budget match what the real needs are, and we don't come back later and say, oh, we forgot we needed this, or we forgot, or we don't need this. So what do we base this new structure of the engineering department by? Because if we didn't do a needs-based assessment, I'm trying to understand how to build that out.
Yep, so Council President, yes, that was how we started the process. We had Fred give to us, what would it look like, what do you think it would need to look like to bring this department in-house? And let's get into some detail. Why would it need to look like this? Or how could you, get the work of both someone who understands a CAD system and to do drawing and design work, but also has the experience overseeing, road resurfacing? Could those be collapsed into one position? So I'm gonna send, I need to look back in my files, and I'm sorry, Council President, I know you had requested that last week. But I do know that I have that initial information from Fred, so I'm gonna find that on the needs-based assessment that we did.
Okay, because I just want to make sure, I mean, this is great. I'm glad that Director Billy is involved. I'm glad he's involved. I'm glad that, Fred McGrone is involved. I'm really grateful, because I believe in Spike Lee saying, do it right the first time, right? So we gotta make sure, projecting and doing these things, we gotta make sure we're doing it right the first time. So I don't wanna keep beating on that. What page, where are we going now? Traffic division,
Traffic.
27?
As you can see in this budget, the clerk was moved out. It's in 60-10 now. We made some adjustments to put some people in the right supervisory title that they should be in. Any questions?
I'm grateful for that. I have a question. Have we ever considered doing, a part-time person for traffic? I know we have the supervisor of traffic, but have we ever considered doing someone else as part-time? Because we work, my guy, hard.
And this structure right here will take some of that work away from him, put somebody else in the supervisor's role to help him out. But no, we never considered doing any part-time work in traffic.
Okay. I mean, can we look into that as well, Madam BA? Can we look at the level of work that's done? Because, I mean, they work all the time, weekends, evenings, accidents, all types of stuff. Can we look at the magnitude of work to determine what the real needs are versus what we see here identified? Because I think we'll probably find ourselves seeing that we're gonna need more than what's here. So that's what I'm asking. And there's a lot of stuff, accidents. I was out there, what was it, Sunday, I was leaving the gym and, they're out there. So I wanna make sure for traffic that I mean, all throughout DPW, they need, a lot of stuff. But I just wanna make sure for traffic that we have the manpower to fulfill what's needed.
Yeah, I think the concern was always that there was really only, we were having problems getting people in the right position and the right titles. Because there would only be, for every job, you have to call just the one supervisor. And so that's why, but now by having two supervisors, you're gonna be able to split up some of that, that weekend, that night work. And then you have the other group that can be rotating in and sharing the different overtime.
Then the cost comes down because you're not paying overtime at that higher rate of overtime. It comes down.
Yeah.
Great job. Great job. Sewer Division, 29. Council members, any questions? Page 29.
29 is I don't think there was no changes at all to this. This is the same as it was last year, except for the increase in salaries for I think union rates, right, Kathleen?
Correct, yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I know you know somebody, you be like, what's up, Kathy? Any questions, council members?
Nope.
Okay, we're going next into
This is
60-50.
MG Jackson's
is this
Streets and
snow?
Roads,
Okay, 31.
31.
Yeah, 31, sorry.
Okay, you wanna give an overview of 31?
Yeah, I'd like to talk first about Councilwoman Cotton's
Okay.
perspectives. As you can see, due to some personal issues with some inspectors, we are down. We have the slots there for them. If we had a full capacity, we could do everything that you asked us to do. We could do street cleaning, we could handle the calls, we could handle that. But right now we have 4 inspectors out, and unfortunately, we just have one that passed away. So
He was an inspector?
yes.
Wow. Okay. And the other 4 have COVID? Or
No, I don't want to say why they're out.
Right, I'm sorry, you can't, I'm sorry. No.
But there's no changes at all to this.
So Victor Rhodes, with the manpower that you have in that department, do you think with the proposed budget, do you need any more? Do you think, I mean, at present, do you think one more person will help it, or do you think with the laborers that you have that you're good?
And I'll let Mike jump in here if he could, but let me just say, I believe that the vehicles are issues in streets and roads, that's 6-man cabs. We just had one, I believe it's totaled, one of the newer trucks that just got totaled. So with vehicles, we can get more manpower on the streets where they need to be. I don't think the manpower is our issue, but Mike is in charge of that division, he could speak to it.
Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
I think everybody's aware that our manpower used to be a lot greater than it is now. At the present moment, we're doing pretty good as far as manpower is concerned, except for inspectors, which you already touched on. I think the only other thing that we have to replace is a motor broom driver as well that passed away, unfortunately. So there's a few slots that need to be filled, but nothing that's a lot of spots that need to be filled in order for us to operate. Vehicles, like the director said, is really the issue. Some of our trucks are going down, and some of the things that we're working with are a lot older than we would like them to be. So hopefully through capital we'll be able to fix some of those situations and we'll be fine.
Okay, so can we just make sure, I was gonna say Councilman Jackson, Supervisor Jackson and Director, Bill, can we make sure when we do the capital improvement budget that we make sure that all of that is identified in that budget for whatever equipment that we have, anything that we want to project, or in anticipation of what we would like to have, like the Flintstones to the Jetson list, can we just create those lists, like this is the equipment we have, this is middle ground, which we need immediately, but if we were able to get this, this is what it would look like. Okay, any questions? Streets and roads, we're good. Okay, let's go to the next item, which is snow and storm recovery.
Yes, this is this is for overtime for snow. When the guys work snow, this is what they're paid out of. Anything to do with snow removal, fixing the trucks for snow, fighting the storm.
So do you think based on your projection, it will cover the need, based on what years did you project this for? Was it a snowstorm where we had the 22 inches? Was it a snow, which year did you base this dollar amount
It
on?
wasn't based off of last year. We can't base nothing off of last year. Prior 2 years before that, we had some significant snowfall. We believe that this should be, plus we have the snow recovery reserve at $200,000 in the O&E. So we believe we're in a good place to handle the snow this year.
So do we have enough salt? I know this is not a part of it. Do we have enough salt allocation? Are we good if we need to?
Right now is filled to capacity. Our brine tanks we got 10,000 gallons of the brine. We got 5,000 gallons of calcium. We have 19 spreaders. We have, I believe it's 33 trucks in total to fight the storm, which we have 3 more coming in, hopefully by the end of this month. So we believe we're in a position to do a good job this year.
Okay.
As we always do.
All right. I'm gonna hold you to it. I'm not on that committee, but you know, I got your number.
I know. Listen, we want the cause. And just
I might come out there. This year I might get bold and put some galoshes on. And Councilman Gilman, whether he's here or not, I'm gonna call you up to meet me over there, okay?
no problem. We'll put you in the truck with maybe Supervisor Mess or Supervisor Mike to drive around.
Yeah, you see that?
But one other point on that, all our trucks are equipped with the GPS system, so we know exactly where they're at during any storm, where they are right now. So all our trucks, we have it on all our trucks right now. So
Nice. Councilman Al was asking about that. Councilman Gilman?
Actually, that was one of my questions as well with the GPS. Is it going to be linked part of the Universal Command at Pennsylvania? The new.
I believe it could be. It's Verizon. It's through Verizon. Right now, we when it snows, you're more than welcome to come up to 800 Broadway and you go watch us work. We put it on the big screen TV right there. We go watch where all our trucks are at all times.
Sounds good.
You gotta bring snacks though.
She's there. Let's go to 35 to auto maintenance.
55.
No, it's on page 35.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So I see in this department, you're adding on 3 radio dispatchers.
No, these are the dispatch that we have previously.
Yeah.
And we put them in the budget. Kathleen can explain.
Sure, this was when we were talking about the communication center.
Okay,
We had in F21 year, or when we did the budget hearing last year, we had moved them with the hopes that we would be able to consolidate everybody in the budget hearing, but in actuality, we didn't move them from the actual budget. So they're still listed, the 3 dispatchers are still in DPW. So this will be tied up as part of the new, but we wanted you to see kind of where they are as of right now.
okay. So one of the things that I think you probably have started doing, because I heard the chief said that you, fire chief, police director, and yourself have been talking with this OEM consolidation. With the consolidation, have we looked at maybe multiplicities of job assignments that we can streamline? Or maybe we can say we can train so that people can be in different roles, or they can be cross-trained. Maybe they can help in this area, that area. I don't know if we're doing it, but if not, that may be a great point, Madam BA, that we utilize that, because maybe someone in DPW eventually wants to be a policeman or a fire person. So we should develop professional development internally for those opportunities for our employees, if they want to cross over, made clear for them. Any questions, council members? Okay, Park Shade Tree.
Park City Tree, there was basically no change to it except for adding the superintendent to the parks this year. The seasonals last year was a great asset to DPW. They did wonderful jobs. Some of them hopefully will be staying on for other positions if it gets what I'm trying to say here. If they fill for the positions. But the seasonals were great. We're gonna look forward to using them different next year. Not in the same capacity we used them this year, but they were great.
So, council members, any question? I have a question. So for this department, we have, oh God, I did read the plan from Mr. Andy Stone. So we have, I think, 40-something parks. I think the number has changed since the 50 number. So how do we allocate the work of the parks? I know we have a great guy that's over the parks, doing a good job. How do we allocate the park structure? And the reason why I'm asking is based on the number, how many employees are in that department, and it's going back to my whole point of reference of the needs-based assessment. When it comes to the park, and I know they do more than just the park work, but I think maybe developing an internal strategy in parks and trees, so when it comes to the bigger parks, maybe, and I'll put this on record, that Madam BA, I think we need to look at opportunities, right? Because I know there is the exploratory conversation going on the possibility of the West Side Park and East Side Park. But I also would like to see, before we get to anywhere of any type of transfer of parks or any of that, before we get anywhere down that road, I want to see some possibilities of MOUs, right? Memorandum of Understandings, that we can work with the county or work with the state. Have we applied through the DEP for money to repave Eastside Park, the trail of Eastside Park, or the structure that is like falling apart in what is that, Westside Park? Like so many different things. Like that's just my mind. I just would like to see us do more of that. With the MOUs and looking into what grants are available through the state, through the county, and all that we've done all of our due diligence necessary to help offset some of the extra weight or baggage on the taxpayer and that taxpayer-based entity, and to make sure that we can do it through grants, and also Millennial Strategies, who's internally in the administration, to see what they can, like what grants they can find, like for the some of the ovals through the MLB grants that they do, Major League Baseball grants, and I know we're looking into that for like the Putnam ovals and all that stuff. So I just wanna make sure that we're doing all of our due diligence before giving anything to anybody. I think we have to make sure that we show that we do that. All right? I know I was all over the place, but I know Kathleen, she
Yeah.
notes, and they'll listen tomorrow to make sure, and they'll call me if they miss anything. All right,
Yeah.
Councilor Cotton?
Thank you, Council President. I need to ask the director, with this park and trees here, is that tree stump removal, is it in here?
Yeah, Parks and Shade Tree, yeah, this is the same division.
Right, but I'm saying, because we're ordering, we haven't received it yet, but, didn't we have an order put in for the
We
tree
got,
stump?
we got a brand new, chipper, and we're just waiting on the stump grinder.
Oh, for it, how long do you think, the next year?
Yes, we're just waiting on, that hasn't come to council yet for vote, but, it'll get there hopefully, next meeting or in sometime early January.
Right, now this is also, this is a budget that you're gonna have in there for, to, remove trees,
Yes, also.
those big trees.
Yeah, what we're doing is, what we noticed this year was, with public service, if a tree is in any limits in, the power lines, we're not allowed to touch it. We shop for public service, sometimes they can help us, sometimes they won't help us, is, you know. So what we're doing is, we're gonna get a contract with a tree service company that's certified to do that type of work.
Right.
So that, we can get the dangerous trees, off the roads.
Oh, okay, cause it's,
What we're doing is, we wanna certify some of our guys so that we can do the work in-house in the future.
also be certified tree cutters.
No, the certified, is for power lines, there's different kind of certification.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, okay. Because there's a lot of, and you know that there is a lot of tree stump,
Yes,
that needs to be picked up, but the problem that, Director, that somebody's going out writing tickets to people with tree stumps that need to be removed,
it's not.
but they're in the sidewalk. And I don't understand why why a supervisor would write anybody a ticket, know that a tree stump needs to be removed. I can't understand why. But, I'll bring it to your attention, but because we have quite a few stumps that gotta be picked up, meaning, I know. So I'll bring it to your attention, Director.
Thank you. Also, Madam PA, and for, DPW, I know it's a lot of work to do, but Madam BA, we need to do a full assessment. We have a lot of oversized trees all throughout the city of Paterson. When you look through places like Broadway from one stretch all the way through, so many areas, the trees, it was, I guess some years ago, it was a great idea that the city donated all these wonderful trees to the homeowners. And now we're finding an abundance of issues with these trees. They're old, storms, they're laying all over the street. So can we do a full assessment of what that cost looks like to get these trees trimmed? I think it's so much work, Director Rodriguez, that I think as administration, we can try to help with that work. Like it's exorbitant. So we, Madam BA, can we do some assessments on that? How we can help, maybe that's another way to partner with, our DPW in the county or whatever to trim those trees. Let's try to help DPW out. It's a lot of work, but we gotta help them.
County helps us now with a lot of work. We call them, they're great partners when it comes to, tree trimming and stump removal, they're great partners with us.
Okay, so let's do a list. Let's do a list. I mean, we have a lot of, I don't know what the list looks like, so I don't know if it's like on an as need basis, but I think we need to do an overall assessment citywide and then work from that through priority listings of what is needed, what's not, we gotta do that. There's a lot of old trees and we gotta make sure we're taking care of that stuff.
Yeah, Council President, there's actually something called like a forestry plan, which we don't have, which has sort of been on our priority list, and I think that would be something that we just have to invest a little money to be able to put that together. But once the city has one, then that also opens up some funding or some partnerships, like you said. So that was already on our radar for this year.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. Next is,
Page 41, 6070 recycling.
And there's just one adjustment I'd like to note here. If you look at the laborers, we have recently got the final and approved waiver to make the change from our part-time laborers into full-time. So Lydia noted the money in the request section. It was a conditional one. We're going to give it a shot for about 6 months. So she left the part-time line in case we need to go back to that by introduction time. But the numbers, so like you see that the change in that part-time line is actually about double because those are actually going to be full-time people supporting recycling.
okay, so goes back to, and I've asked it, and I heard Councilman Jackson reiterate that I've been asking for performance review standards. So when it comes to the work and the quality of performance for these employees that we're moving from part-time to full-time, how are we evaluating the success of, or saying we know that they're ready to go to that level? Like what are we using to gauge that?
The employees the part-timers that we have going in now are pretty good. We have a few part-timers that are out for reasons I can't say. But the 6 that are moving up are some of our go-to guys. They're here. If you look at the overtime numbers, they're usually on there every week. They're the ones that are staying. So it's only right to make them full-time and to make the division even better. I think doing this will bring the division full circle. Now we have the trucks. Now we'll have the full timers. We'll be able to finish. We're finishing routes on time now, and this will just give us a better depth to do more. Maybe circle back and pick up some missed pickups or some late putouts that people put out and call in. So this helps us tremendously.
I agree, and if it's going to allow the efficient and effective pickup of and quality of service for our residents, I think it's great. That's all I can say. Questions, council members?
Are we still on parks? We on parks?
No, we're on recycling, page 41.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out, okay. No, I don't have no, well, you know what, I gotta say, Director, that it has gotten better. I can say that. I don't know about my other council members, but I've seen it has gotten better, Director. They're picking up the stuff, I see them doing that, so I just wanna let you know, and to the guys, you all out there, I've seen it has gotten better, and I wanna say thank you, it's gotten better.
That's what we're here for.
Thank you.
Yes, it has. And thank you for your service all the time.
Phone call away.
6080,
Yes, this is traffic engineer Hung Chow.
So we've actually just moved out these, we put Hong Chao in the engineering division. I know it still says 1 there, but that position is now under engineering, and you can see the 2021 request here is just zeroed out because those positions are now split up. I'm so curious, cable communications, how did that start?
Because that's the building that it was in. The old Cablevision building in.
Oh, okay. I was like, are we talking about like a telegraph here, like a cable communication?
Traffic engineering and cable communication, you should share the same building.
Okay.
that's like, should we even have that?
Yeah, that's why we're kind of doing away with it.
Well, it's antiquated at this time, so I don't know if we need it for memory, and maybe it needs to be a footnote, but I don't know if it needs to be an actual, but that's.
Yeah.
Question. Council members?
No, I
Talked a lot tonight, I have to say it myself.
was looking for horse and buggy carriage on the cable communication.
I know. For the string can and the ropes or something. All right, 46 street repairs. I think, is it 46?
The 46 street repairs, that's for, street repairs for when we're doing, repaving or our trucks, our patch truck for material.
So, in the capital improvement, I don't know if we've done it, but I know, our current patch truck looks like the, Fred Sampson truck.
We have a brand new one on the way, should be here by the end of the year.
I'm just saying, just.
And once we get that one in, the old one is gonna go and get refurbished and come out looking great.
Thank you, I just was checking to make sure, and that's something to be possibly put on your wish list, for, patch trucks. One and then the other one, but maybe, the goal is to get three, right? So you could do two per ward, or two, you got one truck for two wards. So instead of having just one patch truck, which we have now, you'll have at least three patch trucks. Not saying, cause of, our goal is to have every street paved throughout the city. But, until that happens, we have to make sure that we have the necessary equipment in place to do the service. Okay, any questions? Yes, Councilman Gilman.
Yeah, just had a question regarding the patch truck. So when we're receiving a new one and then the old one will be refurbished, refurbished to be, back into service, would you have enough staff members to run both trucks, or would you just have enough for that one patch truck? Or
We'll have enough.
sorry?
We'll have enough, I'm on mute. We'll have enough for personnel.
Cool.
Thank you. Can we go to facilities on page, 47?
Believe there's no change in this one either.
So facilities, is this where I can put the plug in for a, plumber?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to plug in that we need a plumber for the city.
Yes, that's the plug, Councilwoman, that's the one.
I need to make sure, I didn't want to plug it at the wrong point, Councilwoman. So, Madam DA and Director, I would like to see a plumber added. The city needs a plumber. We need a plumber. Yeah, the city,
Hey, Bill, do any of the, these other current positions, do any of them work, or have plumbing experience, or do we really we go out every time for a plumber?
There's a couple guys in there that can do plumbing, but for anything that needs to be done inside of a building needs to be by a certified plumber. So even if these guys were to do the work, we would have to have somebody certified to make sure that it's done right. So that's why we have a plumber on resume. Yes.
Councilman Gilman?
Thank you, Council President. How much is the general cost, I guess, when we bid out, to get contractors for plumbing services? Do you think it's a little above 100,000 or?
If my memory serves me right now, I think it's 125,000.
So like a plumber, certified plumber will cost?
Oh, no, I think the contract that we have.
Contract, yeah.
Yeah, the contract we have, I believe, is 125,000.
Is it a not to exceed contract?
Yes, it is, not to exceed 125,000.
So if you bring it in-house and hire a plumber with fringe benefits, would it possibly be nothing more than maybe 60, 70,000?
I don't want to speculate, but I could reach out to our partner Hohokis and ask them what's the a plumber cost, entry level plumber to come in.
And Bill, do you have a sense of what you spent on that contract this year?
Not too much. We haven't spent that much at all. We haven't had a lot of issues.
Then maybe we can run a report there. Maybe Lydia, I know, is still on. We can make a note of, over the last couple of years, just to see, we have that not to exceed contract, but maybe we only spend 50,000 a year, going outside.
It could be part-time, right?
Huh?
It could be a part-time position. We would have to check it, but I don't think they make a lot. I don't know. We would have to check it, right?
I went to school for plumbers. Plumbers, they get pretty penny.
Or maybe part-time.
Remember that plumbers belong to unions,
Oh, yeah.
and plumbers get paid a pretty penny. It's not a job that you're gonna find someone that's gonna come in here and work for $15 or $20 an hour. It's gonna be a high level position, just like your plumbing inspector is. Your plumber is gonna be the same. They're gonna charge a pretty penny. They're gonna have a union that backs them, not even just a city union, but a trade union. So you have to look at all those things when we do this.
Yeah, so can we take a look into all those dynamics, to look at what's been done, Madam BA? And then we can come back and revisit. Yeah.
Mhm.
I used to say that all the time on the school board, right? Okay, next, what is it, property maintenance?
This is the OE for facilities. But property maintenance, everything's in, that's 6105. We moved everything to 6101. I believe so, right, Kathleen? That's what we did?
Yep, so that one's done. That's just kind of an old division.
And 6202, right?
Yeah. So our next one, any questions, council members? Okay, our next department is recreation.
And I think 52 might be an extra page because it's 54, I believe, is the correct one. And Lydia can correct me on that, but
Yeah, I think 52 is a duplicate of 50. It's exactly the same.
54 is the correct one. 52 was the first one that we did.
okay. Yeah, 52 is an earlier version, 54 is correct, so yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about recreation director.
What you want to talk about? Well, here we go, 53. The administration positions haven't changed from last year to this year, except for the interns. We spoke with Benji about programming, about what we want to see for the summer, especially for the summer camps coming up. We want to see more weekly based programs instead of one-day programs, more arts programs instead of just sports programs. We want to offer more, maybe home economics and stuff like that to the kids. More based on family issues, hopefully. We had that conversation about maybe moving some of his personnel from even the summer programs into his full-time positions. Kathleen could speak to it if she wants to add more.
Yeah, yes, Council President, I know this is one of the ones that I think, we might see a little movement between now and introduction, just to look at some of the, I know that the director is meeting, and I know has had conversations with the mayor, with the recreation director as well. So we hope to be able to have a little bit of an addition, here, both in some of the positions. There might be some that are added to this 6301 budget, as well as some programming that might be added, kind of on some of the breakouts of whether it's the evening centers or the summer programs.
So I just have a recommendation. So coming on, and I made a request, and you guys have done a good job of it. Where $750,000 was removed from recreation some years ago. And so I remember in the budget hearing process, the first year I came on, making a request, council president as well, and we did 250,000. Then we did a little more last year. So I just, for recreation, because it's such a critical part of our city with our youth, I would really like to see the build out to at least bring us back to what that amount was. This is only like 1% of the entire total of the city's budget, where I think we need to make sure we add some more funds into the recreation. I love the ideas of the arts programs, sports, home economics, all those things. I think you need a social worker and recreation, right? Because you're dealing with issues with our young people. There's so many other pieces that are needed. I think there needs to be a turnaround type of dynamic in this program for kids maybe on the spectrum, kids that have behavioral concerns, all those type of things. I think we need to make sure we put that in. And so I know there's some discussions going on, but I think this budget definitely needs to increase, and we need to identify what the needs are, maybe to offset in partnership with the school district where there's the evening centers where they have been cut. I know currently with COVID, schools are out, they're in and all that, but I think in the projection of going forward, I think we need to work in partnership with the schools to make sure we have evening centers, especially in like the areas where we have a lot of crime and violence. We need to make sure there are evening centers there, and we need to work on that. So I'm definitely pushing. I think we need to add more money to the recreation budget, and I will have sidebar conversations about that too. But I think we definitely need to make sure recreation is not only just 1% of the budget. We need to definitely increase. If we're gonna increase, we need to increase in other areas too, but recreation definitely needs to have a lot more money added to recreation. Okay? And I'll put that in my other conversation on sidebars, but I just wanted to put it out to the public that we definitely need to increase that and work on a program as we have these programs that they're working on in the community where we're saving our sons and saving our daughters. And maybe that's a program that we work in conjunction with the police department, where it's like a second chance opportunity program where we're bringing them in. There's opportunities, you can bring them in, train them, develop whatever it is. And I think we can do some of that. So I'll talk to you offline about that. But I think that's a way for us to work police department, saving them, bringing them in, working in different areas. And that way we can just save their lives from the street. Councilwoman Cotton?
Thank you, Council President. I just, to the director, I'm not quite sure, if they're, are letting are they using the schools for the, after school for the evening centers? That's what I'm talking about, the evening centers. I'm not quite sure. I just would like to see a better, I guess once we get past some of this, COVID-19, then maybe, but I know some of the schools are still being used for basketball practice and stuff like that, so I would just rather see us, I'd rather see the Board of Ed being more open about letting us use their buildings.
We have a in place. There's a shared service agreement, Councilwoman, I'm sorry to cut you off. There is an agreement already in place that as we're able to utilize the buildings without the incurred cost. So that was done the first year I came on. So that's already.
Still, Councilwoman, people are still crying about they can't get into the buildings. They still are. Like, and Director Rodriguez knows some of them didn't want people in. Some of principals didn't want people inside their buildings. So I just hope that we can get a better relationship and we can use more of the buildings, because there's a lot of buildings out here that we could be using for our children. There's a lot of buildings. We're not using as many as we should be using. That's all. And I think they need to add more buildings to letting us use them for the after school or adult learning center, as they want to call it, the learning center. So I'm not sure who's in charge of that, Director. Would that be Danny, or that would be Jimmy, or that would be Schultz? I'm not sure who's in charge of those schools.
Benji.
Oh, no, I know, but I'm talking about the supervisors. I mean, like.
I don't know what supervisor. It wouldn't be none of them. It'd be
Okay.
the center supervisors.
We need to open up more of our schools. But I say to people too all the time, we don't have sometimes enough staff to be able to put people in here. And that's why I would say to the parents and to the anybody, if you can volunteer some time with some of this stuff, we really can use somebody to help us. I mean, volunteer too to go in and help us and give up a couple of hours a week or so. So I just would like to see the schools open up more than what they have now done. What are they doing now?
That should be a conversation, Councilman Cotton, with the superintendent, because the way, and Councilman Gilman, he can second this. the way they operate is that the superintendent allows them to run their buildings autonomously. So that would be definitely a conversation with the superintendent in relation to the principal. The principals, depending on if they can have the staff, what has happened in the past, is that it comes out of their budget for their school. And so that's a conversation to be had with, Superintendent Schaefer and also, Assemblyman Wimberly. Right, Councilman?
Council President.
Yes. Councilman Jackson? Yes.
So this is we've been having the same conversation for the past 30 plus years. We're going to continue to have the same conversation. The schools utilize all of our parks, our fields, all of the spaces without incurring any cost. They use it at their leisure, for the benefit of our students. Of course, we ask them to utilize the facilities for the benefit of our students and our residents, and we have to deal with principals who don't live here, who take ownership of the buildings, and we all, not acknowledging the truth is that some of these principals talk about, no, they can't use my building, which they're not paying the city taxes on, and so on and so forth. Anyway, I just wanted to get that commentary in. With all due respect, Council President, I'm curious of just how this conversation that Councilwoman Cotton and yourself have been engaging in is pertinent and pertains directly to this budget, DPW, because when I had a question that was relevant to the director, you said that question could not be answered because it wasn't relevant to the budget. Now we're having a conversation about principals and schools and everything else that has nothing to do with DPW, and here we are, you're allowing it, but yet you're picking and choosing which. So I'm just trying to get a point of clarity from you on what set of rules are you following or guidelines are you following with regard to the various council members that want to address certain points a certain period of time.
Well, Councilman Jackson, I'm glad you asked because I don't mind providing clarity. We are in the middle of discussing recreation. After school and evening centers are part of the recreational budget. So the question that was put forth on the floor pertained to evening centers and the usage of the centers, which is a part of the same dialogue. The concern that you have was pertinent to information that will require a full quorum of a council, which we don't have. We're in budget hearings. So that is where, we have to operate by the Robert's Orders of Rules, and that's what we're doing. There's a level set of decorum that came forward probably before I was born. But this is how the structure of the meeting has been run on tonight, and I want to say to Director Billy, to Supervisor Mike, thank you so much. We have finished your items. Thank you for all of your service and your hard work. There are just a few adjustments, Madam VA. There may be more with the full council as well, as they come forward. But I just want to thank all of the department heads from economic development, fire, and as well as DPW for coming on tonight, and I want to put this on record as we come to a close of this meeting, and then we have to open back up at 9. As a reminder, I want to thank the council once again for the employee recognition program. Madam BA, I'm sure the mayor is watching. I would like to be a part of the meeting with the department heads so that I can go over and give information as to this new initiative as we're moving into the month of December, where they will begin to start recognizing an employee within their department, working with Maine to take a photo of the individual, finding a space on the wall in their department so we can highlight and do big hoopla over these employees. In December, and then a sit down, Madam VA, with you and some of the administration to go over and get ready for May. So for the employee appreciation with the years of service and all of that. But as we're preparing for December, we should already be looking into every department head selecting an employee of the month. I would like to have it highlighted on the Access channel, I want on the access channel first, this is a new ordinance that's in place, so the employees are aware of what's happening. But then in December, that we highlight every month, these employees, and then when we go into recognition, the names will be displayed, in the scroll board of the names of those people that have 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years, and so forth and so on. So thank you, everyone. Do you have any, I saw Councilwoman Cotton's hand. Yes, Councilwoman Cotton. I can't even, I'm trying to see without the red glasses. It's so hard, the glare is off, so I apologize, Councilwoman Cotton.
Oh, that's okay. I just want to say to, my question about the recreation comes under DPW. I hear about the schools, I hear about all that, so, I mean, I wasn't asking something that was not pertaining to the DPW, department, which recreation falls under. So I'm just saying to people in general, recreation is very important. That's why we really need more people, community members to be more mindful and volunteer more. And I think that once we can get some of those people to say, well, and maybe the schools can, or some of them can open up more. I think that it's about working together with each other. And I know we do they call it the learning center, I believe. I mean, early morning or early late, a learning center in the evening centers, that's what they call it. Let me tell you something, a lot of kids look forward to going to those evening centers. And we have a few of them running now, and the children really look forward to go, especially not being able to go to school, and they are able to come out and go to the evening center. So, I mean, they have a limited number of kids that they can take, but believe me, I've gone to a couple of them, those kids are so excited about just being able to get out the house for a little while. And so I do want to thank you, Michael, Director Billy. I know you guys get a lot of texts from me, but I know you don't mind.
It's all good.
But I just want to say I appreciate you, for everything that you do for. I really do. Thank you.
All right, guys, we're only a phone call away. Thank you.
I think I get on the nerves, Councilwoman Cotton. I think I do. Councilman Gilman, everything?
Yes, I just want to reiterate, thank you again. This was a really fruitful debate regarding the budget. And it's not just cents and dollars, it's lives, it's individuals, it's the staff members of it, from the bottom of the pyramid to the top. So we really appreciate the conversation. And I do want to reiterate this again, as my council colleagues have said, we really appreciate everything DPW does. And we know that, you're working with 25 cents worth of orders for just with a nickel. So it's really difficult and hard. And we appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Cousin.
Thank you. And so, Madam Clerk, we're gonna put this meeting to close, 9 o'clock. One second, Councilman Jackson, I'm gonna come to you before we close. 9 o'clock will be our special meeting at 9 p.m. So to all residents that are watching, please log back on at 9 o'clock. Councilman Jackson?
Director, obviously you already know my appreciation is extremely high for both of you guys. How can I not appreciate a person named Michael Jackson outside of the job that you do? That's phenomenal. Councilwoman Cotton, not only am I appreciative of the question you asked, I'm in full agreement. I think that it is relevant. I do think that we should be asking the question with regard to how the schools are being ran. My only point was we're always asking questions. We're never holding them accountable. And we're never demanding a change in the answers. We've been asking the same question for the past 30 plus years while these principals have the schools under lock and key. So while the violence in the neighborhoods is still building, you're right. There should be some additional answers. Night gym, after school programs, tutoring, things of that nature. So I'm in full agreement. But as you emphasized that we're talking about recreation and you're talking about evening centers, while we're on the topic of economic development, the library falls under the purview of the economic development director and under the economic development umbrella. So just as this question is relevant, so was the question that I asked then. I'm still baffled on how Robert Rules of Order prevents one question from being answered and allows the other. But nonetheless, Council President has the ability to run the meeting as he sees fit, and I will allow her to continue to block for various members of the administration, but the public is seeing it as well. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Councilman Jackson. And let me be clear, I don't block anything. I just make sure that there is an order and a set decorum. That is what the president's purview is, and that's what we've done. I think we ran a very effective meeting on tonight. Very cool, calm, and very collective, with some great insight, great perspective, and definitely some great additions that are being added to ensure that we put the residents in the city of Paterson first. Paterson, it's all about you. We have to make sure in all of our decision making that we do that. That's why I've been at every single budget hearing, and this has been amazing. My prayers go out to our council members that are not present. I am praying for all of you and for the others that will join us at 9 o'clock tonight. Paterson, once again, join us at 9 p.m. to our BA, to all of our Marge and Lydia and so many of you that are on. Madam Clerk, thank you for all you do. We'll come back on at 9 o'clock. God bless all of you. Thank you, department heads. Have a great evening.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Council President.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Be safe.
Good night.
Good night.
Do it yourself now. Person, I'm here for me to be paid.